It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Larry Magid is here from ConnectSafely.org. Mike Elgan from Oaxaca, Mexico. And Jason Hiner, editor-in-chief of ZDNet. Of course, we're going to have to talk a little bit about Elon. We'll also talk about Tesla, self-driving, how safe it is. Apple's backing out of the Sunday ticket negotiations. Who is John Mastodon? And should TikTok be banned? That and a whole lot more, including John Carmack quitting Meta. It's up next on TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 906, recorded Sunday, December 18th, 2022. A bad year for billionaires. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Stamps.com. This holiday season, trade late nights for silent nights and get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up at Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, enter the code TWiT for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. And by Noom. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noomweight's psychology-based approach. And check out Noom's first ever book, available for pre-order, The Noom Mindset, a deep dive into the psychology of behavior change. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/twit. And by Audible. Audible lets you enjoy all of your audio entertainment in one app. Let Audible help you discover new ways to laugh, be inspired, or be entertained. New members can try it free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/twit or text TWiT to 500-500. And by Worldwide Technology and Intel. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale. WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the latest tech news. Our last live show of 2022. Next week, Christmas Day, we have a very special and a very fun episode we recorded a couple of days ago with some of the old timers, Steve Gibson, Jeff Jarvis, Doc Searles, and Paul Thurrott. Kind of a look back at the year. So that'll be your Sunday, next Sunday. New Year's Day will be the best of, and then we will be back on January 8th with a new TWiT. So the last TWiT of 2022. Well, if it's the last TWiT of 2022, you know I'm going to bring in my favorite people, starting with Mike Elgan, who's joining us from Oaxaca. That's right. A nomad, a gastro-nomad.
Yep. And it's beautiful here. I'm up on a rooftop. I can see the whole city from up here. It's fantastic.
We were with Mike and Amira Halloween last year, Day of the Dead in Oaxaca. It was incredible. And the food was so good. And we had such a good time. So
we just finished one. And Chef Alex says hi to you. And some of the other
I want to send him.
folks.
I want to send my son, Hank, down there to apprentice with Chef. Because Hank, as you know, is a Twitter chef, which is not quite the same as a real world chef. And I thought it'd be great if he could go down and sit by. He wants to do that sometimes. So
I would love to arrange that, because it would be not just Chef Alex, but several other chefs and others here that he could apprentice with. That'd be amazing.
That is wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you. Also with us, Larry Magid, who has quite the tale to tell this week, president and CEO of ConnectSafely.org, another radio refugee. Hi, Larry. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Leo, and everybody.
And the man who elected me president of the internet, my good friend Jason Hiner, formerly of Tech Republic. He's now editor-in-chief of all of ZDNet. Hi, Jason.
Hey, great to be here, Leo.
Oh, it's
always a pleasure.
Always nice to see you. This is a great time to have kind of. I like to do at the end of the year, kind of bring together people I know and love and have known for years, and we get to talk about the tech news. And God, I was hoping we wouldn't have to talk about Elon Musk. I was praying. This will be quick. By the way, Elon has inadvertently created a new hero in the world, John Mastodon. So Elon yesterday banned any mention of Mastodon. You can't link to it. In fact, when you try to link to it, you'll get on Twitter, you'll get, oh, this site is malicious and dangerous, which it's not. Mastodon is 5,000 social networks. Many Twitter refugees have fled to Mastodon. We've been running a Mastodon since 2019. We're one of the Mastodons that is blocked. But there was somebody wrote an article that misunderstood, because one of the Twitter handles blocked was Join Mastodon, and somehow some editorial writer thought it was John Mastodon, and even said the founder of a competing social network has been banned. And ever since, everybody on Mastodon has taken up the charge for John Mastodon. There are John Mastodon accounts. There's a whole legend of John Mastodon now. It's exactly how the internet should respond to an infection like what's happening over on Twitter. I just saw that Elon has banned Paul Graham for mentioning his Mastodon account. Paul, ironically, a venture capitalist, founder of Y Combinator, very well known in the community, beloved in the community, and somebody who had been supporting Elon all this time. Now he's banned. Taylor Lawrence banned, not much of a surprise, along with many, many other journalists. I'll be honest with you, and maybe Mike, because you're a journalist, you can tell me I'm wrong, but who the hell cares if Twitter bans journalists? Elon has now firmly shown this is his plaything. This is his crib. He has the right and legal right to do whatever he wants. For the EU to weigh in is complete nonsense. For journalists to whine is complete nonsense. The writing is on the wall. This is his Twitter. So move on, right? Or no?
Well, move on, yes. But
to beg to get reinstated is ridiculous, I say.
Well, I mean, journalists, whether they have been banned or not, or reinstated or not, should care, because many of us have been cultivating audiences and readership on Twitter, in my case, since 2007.
Yeah.
Almost every day, almost all day. And now all of a sudden he's explicitly said that people have to start building credibility on the platform. I mean, it's yes, it's his legally, he owns it. But our relationships are not his. The connections we have with our readership are not his. And so it's really a bummer to start over on another platform when so many of us have invested so much in this platform.
Well, I mean, I'm not completely immune to that. I have more than 500,000 followers on Twitter, but I have no problem leaving it. I mean, that was the mistake, perhaps, is to say, Twitter's ours. It's our relationships. Guess what? It never was. Maybe it looked like it was. Jason, how do you feel about this? You're also a journalist, obviously. All three of you are.
I will say that Twitter was by far the platform that I was most engaged in for the longest time. And really in 2018, I kind of pulled back from all social media when it became pretty clear that there wasn't as much value. It was it was very toxic. And so to be upfront, I have spent less and less time there. And it has been clear that Twitter itself was a little bit lost in the wilderness, trying to find its way. And now it really is sad to see what's happening, because I think one of the things that is easy to forget about Twitter is that when however you felt about Facebook became a much more valuable company. Instagram became, a rocket ship. TikTok, the new rocket ship. Twitter always still had a very strong brand value among journalists, among celebrities,
chiefly among those, though, right? I mean, normal people didn't. It had no brand at all, right?
For sure. But I'd say among people who were doing, like Mike said, cultivating audiences, it had a very high brand value, and it's in a matter of 12 months, almost all of that brand value has been destroyed, and that's a significant destruction of value that is going to be very difficult to reestablish, because the old saying goes that trust comes in on foot and it goes out on horseback. It takes so long to build, and it takes so short of an amount of time to get rid of it. And my feeling is that Twitter, for me and most of other people, it's really lost a lot of trust. It's going to be very difficult to reestablish.
Elon owns it, but I think your point, Jason, is fair. Mike, I mean, it's not exactly a public utility, I admit, but it has that flavor in the sense that we all use it or have used it. We all have depended on it. I mean, it's the first thing I think about. I've got something to say. I want to get it out there right away. What other platform do any of us have, that we can get right out? Maybe you guys do, VDNet perhaps, but where you can, 3 a.m, you get an idea, you want to say something and you can say it. He is taking something away from all of us. Does he have the legal right to do it? Yes. Does he have the moral right to do it? Maybe not. And should he have the legal right to do it? That's actually, I guess the answer is still yes, but I think it's worth debating about.
I think it would. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I think this is a lesson we should have learned a long time ago, that these giant corporate-owned public forums are not ours, and they never have been ours. Mark Zuckerberg's completely in control of Facebook, Instagram, completely in control of it, and things happen all the time there, and it has been in their interest all this time to cultivate you content creators to say, yeah, come on, create your content. YouTube is going to be the same way, but ultimately they control it, and it's a mistake to believe you do. And what an opportunity I think we have to learn here to stay away from these centralized platforms. I see so many people, so many journalists making the same mistake, migrating to Post, which is owned by Mark Andreessen, which has in its policies, you may not badmouth billionaires. It's clearly the wrong place to go. It's the same lesson, and some people have not learned it. There is, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I think Elon is so threatened by Mastodon. Mastodon is completely decentralized. No one controls it.
It's funny. A lot of companies no longer give out their web address. They give out their Facebook page or their Twitter handle. I mean, technically my website is hosted by somebody, but I do own it. And I have complete control.
So maybe we go a little bit back to the, there was a reason why for years people like Kevin Marks and the IndieWeb folks have been saying you need to own. I've been saying this to teenagers. You need to own your presence on the web. You cannot let Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat tell people who you are. You need to do that. You need to have your own website. Is that asking too much of people?
I don't think it's asking too much, but I would encourage everyone who does own their own website to do what I did this afternoon, which is to remove Twitter from almost every website has a Twitter. Like, go see us on Twitter. We should all remove that because Twitter has basically decided that they're not going to provide free publicity to other social networks. So why should we provide free publicity for Twitter?
Absolutely. I took Twitter off ages ago. If you go to my website, you'll see 2 links, a Mastodon link and an email link, and that's it. Used to be, and this software allows for Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter. But that's a lesson we should learn. We should take with us. If you don't own it, in the sense that you control what's on that platform, you're always at risk. And I think we're going to learn that about YouTube as well in the long run.
And I think the future is the reason that these platforms, Web 2.0, centralized a lot of control, right? And what happens with this is in all of human history. What happens is when resources get centralized, then a very small number of people extract all the value, right? It makes billionaires out of people, a very few number, and then everybody else is left sort of fighting for the scraps. And so we've seen this time and time again. I do feel like, it is somewhat of a utopian vision, but I think we are on the direction toward this future of federated identity. This is what Web3 is trying to solve, which is trying to create this federated identity using the blockchain for each of us to be a node and have a node that is not controlled. We control what information and private information we give to anyone we interact with. It is putting more of an onus on users, but I think that the users who are, call it 35 and under, they have this innate comfort with these platforms and with technology in the ways that they aren't scared away from this kind of idea. And so I do think it's not an easy road, and it's not going to happen in 2022 or 2023. But I think we are on the road to a place where we have federated identity and Web3, whatever you want to call it, blockchain-based internet that will fundamentally change the way that these things are built. And we're not going to fall for the sort of the promises that we did in Web2 that essentially centralized a lot of value in a few hands, and they extracted all of the value, and then we are left with what? Not much.
Only thing I disagree with you on is the blockchain Web3 thing, because that's really,
me too.
That's owned by Andreessen Horowitz. That's just as bad as anything else. But the idea, the notion of decentralized, Tim Berners-Lee. The problem is this is so geeky at this point. So
it is.
But Tim Berners-Lee's been promoting this with his Solid project, solidproject.org. The idea of using web standards. He's the guy who invented the World Wide Web. He's at the World Wide Web Consortium. Using web standards to allow people to control their data, control their privacy, control who they are on the internet. To me, this is a huge opportunity. If venture capitalists weren't so goddamn greedy, and if it weren't dominated by billionaires who hate the idea of people controlling their destiny, this would already have happened. Somebody needs to step forward and make this possible. Gargron has done that with Mastodon, but that's just one tiny bit of a much larger ecosystem that could be created where you own your identity and you control it. And I think that we need to make this easy for everybody, because otherwise they'll just keep falling into the Twitter trap.
And the Fediverse seems to me to be perfectly unstoppable. I mean,
that's the irony. Elon can't buy it. No one can buy it.
Nope.
No one can buy it, and you can see how it's already sort of subsuming old brands like Tumblr and what's that, Photo Flickr and so on.
Tumblr has joined the Activity Pub, which means Tumblr will be a peer on the Fediverse, which means you could have your presence on Tumblr, for instance, and participate in the Fediverse.
I mean, you could even imagine a future, because obviously Elon Musk is destroying Twitter and it's going to be a shell of its former self in pretty short order. You can imagine it changing hands and then itself becoming part of the Fediverse post Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. They talk about the town square, right? The analogy of Twitter is like the town square, but the town square is truly public property. I mean, that's
the problem. That's why Twitter,
right?
Which was by kind of the de facto town square, isn't truly the town square.
No, it isn't. And nor is Facebook, for that matter. Any privately owned property is not a town square by definition. Almost, it's public property. It's a municipal place that every citizen of that community owns. And could you imagine if, in order for Leo, you and I to decide we wanted to hang out together, we somehow had to get permission from some billionaires so we could talk to each other?
One of the things, perhaps, that's slowing the Fediverse down is its kind of built-in antipathy toward brands and businesses. It is a little bit of a socialist empire. I think brands are starting to show up on Mastodon.
Change.
News brands should be on Mastodon, and a lot have. ProPublica's there. A lot of there's Journa.host, where a lot of journalists who are refugees from Twitter are going. This all began. We probably should say, although I imagine you all know, when Elon claims, and by the way, there's no support for this claim, but claims that his car containing his child X was jumped in Los Angeles, right. And that the reason it was jumped is because Jack Sweeney, who's a college student in Florida, has been posting the jet's location, Elon's jet location, along with many others, by creating a bot that republishes the ADSB database. Right. This database is created by airline enthusiasts who have little Raspberry Pis. I thought it was an official database. It's not. Your tail number is public, and you have a transponder on the plane that is necessary so that people know who you are as you fly around. But these enthusiasts have been using Raspberry Pis on the ground to gather information about what's flying overhead and post it to this ADSB database. So there isn't a central, public database for airplane location, but ADSB Exchange exists so that people can upload, and that information is really there. It's kind of like open street map. So this is this is the biggest of the exchanges, but there are many others. This is open source intelligence. They're public information. Planes are required by law to broadcast their exact location every 3 seconds, and it's illegal to keep the location of an airplane secret. And so, what's funny to me is that, Elon Musk is, until recently, the world's richest person. He's obviously a public figure. He's somebody who would be the target of maybe foreign spies or stalkers and paparazzi and so on. Somebody like that has to hire security, do whatever they have to do to protect themselves. He also has the option, if the location of his airplane is a security risk, to not own an airplane, fly in another kind of airplane. Airlines, even for executives, exist all the time, and nobody knows where which individual executive is in what plane. He's got a bunch of things that he can do to protect his family, and I, of course, think he absolutely should protect his family. Including, by the way, not owning his private jet, but leasing it from a company so that no one would know he was on that plane.
Exactly.
There are things he can do, but he never liked Jack Sweeney's Elon tracker account. Jack tracks everybody else too, including Jeff Bezos. He never liked it. Always complained about it. At one point, it was said offered $5,000 to the kid to take it down. The kid said he never received that offer. And by the time he asked for it, Elon said no. Once Elon owned Twitter, he said, I'll never take it down, but that was just a matter of time before he took it down. But what he did, which was a little shocking, I think, to journalists who thought somehow they had a right to be on Twitter, he took down any journalist who mentioned the existence of this Elon's jet account, or that it had moved to Mastodon, including
who mentioned it not even on Twitter. Like, they mentioned it in an article,
in a news article on the New York Times,
and then
the
they
Voice
were banned
of
on
America,
Twitter
and everywhere else, and CNN. And so he banned them. Now, some of them I think are coming back. He had a poll. He loves these polls, which apparently is, as far as I could tell, the stupidest thing ever, because anybody can vote in these polls, including the Russian GRU and the internet troll factories. Anyway, he had a poll and said, should I bring him back in 7 days? Or I don't remember what the answer was.
Right.
But I think he's reinstated some. But who cares? This, to me, is all you need to hear. Goodbye, Twitter. I don't understand why brands are still on Twitter. I really don't. It just.
Well, Leo, you know the story about what happened to me on Monday night.
What happened to you? Oh, okay. Actually, let's get into this. So you, through ConnectSafely.org, which you run, are a member. We're a member of the Twitter Safety Advisory Council, right?
That's correct. Since 2016, I was actually a charter member, and we, used to have meetings, and we would give them advice, and we would test out some of their safety-related products and product changes, and had productive conversations. They didn't listen to everything we had to say. We were not a decision-making body, which is very clear. And the other thing that's very important is we were divided into committees. So, for example, some of my colleagues on the board have been trolled allegedly for participating in child pornography because they didn't proactively do anything to take down alleged child porn on Twitter. But the fact is that none of these people were actually even on that committee. The people who were on the committee that dealt with child pornography were the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Thorn Foundation, and other world-renowned experts in that particular field. I am not a world-renowned expert when it comes to child pornography, but we are somebody who advises on things like harassment, cyberbullying, stalking, and all those other things.
And you were volunteers, right?
Yeah, we weren't paid. And Twitter actually, even though we put them down as a contributor, the only money they gave ConnectSafely was they gave us some advertising revenue, which is significant, advertising inventory. So, we could do free advertising on Twitter. So that was significant. But other than that, they weren't one of our more generous sponsors. And we're very public, by the way. We get money from Meta and Google and all these other companies. So we don't hide that.
When Elon bought Twitter end of November, did anything change in that relationship?
No, we never heard from. Well, the only thing changed is we stopped hearing from them. And I had just about decided.
Did you still get the ad inventory?
Well, they didn't take it away, as far as I know. It's still there. They'd already given it to us, so I suppose it's in our account.
Should advertise Mastodon.
Yeah, but that would get
you'd get taken down immediately. Yeah,
no, really.
Yeah.
So anyway, I happened to be in Washington D.C. on Monday night at a Meta safety summit that I was speaking at, and 8:00 comes along, and we're having dinner with the Meta folks, and I say I have to excuse myself. I've got to go do this Twitter thing, and everybody sort of chuckles. And
it was a Zoom call that
Zoom or something like that.
Advisory group was going to be on. Okay.
Right. So I'm walking down the streets of Washington, D.C. with my phone. I dial in, through Zoom, and nobody's there. And I think, maybe I got the wrong link. So I go search my email, and there's an email saying, "Thank you very much for your service. We no longer need you, and there's no more safety advisory board." So this board and what's interesting about it is that this meeting that was supposed to happen Monday was hastily called after some of my colleagues had resigned. A couple of people resigned last week or the week before. They hastily called the meeting, and they escalated it to bring in some of their more senior people. They were, I don't know if Elon was supposed to be on the call, but some of their more senior people were going to be on, much more senior than we usually get on our calls. But then they just abruptly ended it. So clearly they don't want to hear from us. They don't want our advice. I was probably going to resign anyway after the meeting. I wanted to hear what they had to say. But now Elon can say, "You can't quit. I fired you." So, I'm no longer on the board. There is no more board.
Elon had also promised to create a moderation board to determine who should be brought back to the site and who should be.
I'm not volunteering for that.
And that board never happened. There was nothing to do, and he's making all choices at this time.
Yeah, that's right.
So, okay. I mean, I guess my attitude, it was easy for me because I abandoned Twitter in my mind months ago.
No, I mean, there was essentially no point in having a board to advise a company that's run by a guy that doesn't want to listen to anybody's advice.
Right. That's what Yoel Roth, who was head of trust and safety, said when he left. And then, of course, Elon some weeks later started to slime him with false accusations. And
a couple of my colleagues got slimed. I don't know, remember this guy, some alt-right guy with 1 million followers slammed a couple of my colleagues on the board, and then Elon retweeted it.
Yeah.
And again, blaming them for child pornography. I mean, come on, that's like QAnon crap. I mean, that's about as low as you could get to accuse somebody of having anything to do with child pornography who's completely innocent of that charge. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say about
But it's one of Elon's favorite tactics.
Yes. Actually,
remember pedo guy, the claim, the false claim against the person rescuing the kids and all that stuff.
Yeah,
terrible.
It makes McCarthyism look benign. I mean, it's just a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah, it strikes me that Elon. I mean, again, it's his company. He spent a lot of money. He can burn it to the ground if he wants. If somebody wants to buy, something and burn it, that's their prerogative. It strikes me that he, right now, likes the power that it gives him to wield these troll armies against whoever he feels like it. He's always felt that way, I think. He did that with Dogecoin, remember? It was a magician's trick. He waved his hand and Doge went up, then he waved his hand and Doge went down. And you experience that once and you go, that's pretty cool, and you want to do it more. And I feel like that's what Elon's doing now. I feel like anybody who continues on Twitter is merely sharpening that sword for Mr. Musk.
But you've seen what it's done to Tesla
stock. That's a big mistake. Well, he's going to pay the price, but he can afford it. Look, Elon
so are millions of stockholders.
Yeah, well, maybe
you
should have thought twice about buying stock in Tesla.
Maybe so.
I think it's pretty clear that Tesla is not being run at all right now, and I think Tesla shareholders are suing over that as well.
Well, it actually bothers me. I as you know, Leo, I have a Model 3, and it occurs to me because of the fact that this car can be controlled remotely, that a madman is capable of, driving me into a cliff. I mean, I'm not suggesting he would do that, but it does concern me that have somebody like Elon Musk technically can control the car that I drive.
Yeah.
And it makes me think twice about whether I want to keep that car.
The larger story to me, and it's more of a political story than a tech story, although tech really becomes weaponized in this story, is that authoritarians and the very rich have formed an alliance. And maybe some cases the very rich are becoming authoritarian. And we as the people have really got to be careful now because these tools are extremely powerful. An authoritarian wielding Twitter, we know this, can have immense power, but that's only if we give it to them. And so I think as normal people, we gotta remember, you're just helping an authoritarian. It's time to stop helping authoritarians. They're not acting in our interest. That's more political probably than technical, but it is the case, right?
Yep.
All right. Anything else that you want to say about this sad person and what's sadly happening to Twitter, which was a pretty cool thing at one point. I guess it's over.
No, it's just upsetting to think that somebody with a big checkbook can take over an organization, I didn't love Twitter, but I liked Twitter. I used it. We all used it. And he can just, arbitrarily, one man can do that just because he's got the money to do it.
Welcome to capitalism, my friend.
I know.
That's the way of the world. It's time to open your eyes.
well, I go back to, I went to Berkeley, so I know all about that.
I'm sympathetic. I wish the world were a better place, but it's pretty clear that the guy who writes the checks.
Well, the other question is the Twitter board. I mean, the Twitter board forced him to make the purchase when they could have backed out.
Yeah.
Again,
they had a nice payday.
They got $54.20 a share. By the way, Elon is now going around to friends and other investors saying, "Hey, you can buy more for $54.20 a share."
Yeah, right.
Anybody?
And there are people who will sign up who still have said, like, look, Elon's created more value in these organizations. Now, I did one of even his biggest fans, who now I'm forgetting the name of, did say he'd like to see the vision for where it's going from here.
One of his big investors, a guy who is heavily invested.
Yeah, Ross Gerber. That's what it was.
He said, "I'm not putting more money until I see the vision." What's the vision?
What's the vision? Which I think it's clear that what is clear is that there isn't necessarily one. But the thing that is interesting is I believe it was at least in the last 6 months, maybe 18 months. I do remember Jack Dorsey saying, having a bit of a retrospective, knowing the direction that Twitter had gone, and saying, the mistake we made was going public, and also losing, because once we went public and then we had to create revenue to create, to get the advertising dollars to be a growth company and to get investors, and that's when, remember, and I'm sure you all remember this, when they banned all of the API, they closed down the API because Twitter was originally a bit more decentralized, like we were talking about, and it was really evolving quite powerfully. And the beginning of the end was, from my perspective, was when they shut off the API, they went public, they put all of their focus on advertising. And I said that, I believe I've said that in columns in the past. And it was about, like I said, somewhere between like 6, 12, 18 months ago, then Jack Dorsey, essentially said, that's where we made the mistake, and we lost control of this thing. And even at that time when he said that, to me, that was him saying, that kind of he was on his way out, and he didn't really see a great path forward for Twitter. And it's played out. Now, no one could have imagined it accelerating the demise of what we've seen in the last few months, but that was. That was the exclamation point or the period on the sentence, I think.
The thing I found really chilling is, I think it was Kevin Roos's article in the New York Times saying, they won't admit it, but Silicon Valley's watching what Elon does, wondering if they can do it with their company too. That is chilling. I think it's specifically talking about the layoffs, but what it really is, I think, is a lot of the tech CEOs are nervous. We know this. Amazon and Apple especially are nervous about the employees standing up to them, and they're watching with great interest to see if you can beat them down with a stick and survive. So that was a story in the New York Times this week. I was kind of like, well, I hope that's not a widespread point of view. We'll see. We'll see. I think Elon is not doing good news for himself. This was the story. Elon Musk, management guru. Why the Twitter owner's ruthless, unsparing style has made him a hero to many bosses in Silicon Valley. I hope Kevin is wrong on that.
I hope that's not what he and Tim Cook talked about when they walked around Apple Park a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, Elon, how's that working out for you? We'd like to try that here at the campus. And actually, one of the stories we talked about on our Christmas episode, which is coming up on Sunday, is the shift in power, I think, in tech companies, where engineers at Google told Google we don't want to do military contracts. Microsoft's had the same problem. Employees at Apple, Starbucks, Amazon attempting to unionize. Employees are realizing they have a little bit more power than they thought, and that's got to scare the C-suites at these companies. So,
well, I think hopefully these tech CEOs who are watching this will sort of revise their opinion once Elon Musk totally destroys Twitter and loses billions and billions of dollars, which is almost certainly going to happen. I mean, he's just failing in almost every way, and it's hard to imagine he's kind of turning it the whole thing into Parler. And how is a site like Parler going to have advertisers and revenue and so on? So it's really going to be a good lesson for all the tech CEOs in some ways, right? So the other thing is that
I hope they take the right lesson from it, not the wrong lesson. That's
I spend almost all my energy on Twitter criticizing Elon Musk now, so I sort of use that as a great place to do that. And I'm a lot of comments on his tweets, and he's got this army of trolls that's exactly like Donald Trump's trolls. So there's certain types of people. Lying narcissists always make false claims about all the great things they're doing. And there are certain types of, I think it's a personality trait or something. There's just some people who believe them when they do that. Like they get their information about a lying narcissist from the lying narcissist. And so people are like, oh, he's fixing everything. Well, what he's doing is he's destroying a feature that Twitter had already, and then he's replacing it with a worse one. And this is true on almost everything from verification to everything else. And so it's just like, it has that sort of like that 2016 kind of feeling, these arguments I'm having with these Twitter accounts that are 1 month old, have 0 followers, no profile picture, and a fake name, right? Millions of these accounts are on there, all supporting Elon Musk. So it's just become a weird place. And it's still fun to poke fun at Elon Musk on his own threads, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I prefer to just leave him alone to his own devices.
By the way, I have to announce, as of this minute, I just refreshed my supporter page of ConnectSafely, and Twitter's logo is no longer on it. My associate must have taken it down while we were on the air.
He heard you talking and said, "Oh, let's get that off of there."
I took it off of my sites actually while we were here.
There's some serious concerns. The trust and safety people are gone. So are the CSAM people. There's some concern about Twitter's ability to block CSAM, let alone its desire to do so. So I think that's probably appropriate for.
Oh yeah, no. The problem. I mean, there are reports of increased hate speech. I mean, there's all sorts of reports of things happening on Twitter that are negative, and he's banning journalists. Yeah. Yet leaving alone the trolls and the hate. And as we pointed out earlier, the bots are still there as well. So he's going after the wrong people.
All right, enough of that. We're going to move on. But as little as I want to talk about this, and I know as much as you guys want us to not talk about it, it's kind of important stuff going on, and I don't think we can.
It's like Trump, should we? A lot of media people are accepting some blame for putting Trump on the front page day after day after day.
Right.
Yet, how do you ignore it? I mean, how do you not cover a train wreck? Which daily.
And I guess this is what I'm trying to say is, okay, it's over. Twitter's dead. Elon's dead to me. Let's move on. The problem is nobody wants to move on. Everybody wants to have their Twitter account. I still have people in this company. I would love to tell my marketing team to stop using Twitter, but it's impossible to get people to move on. So as long as people continue to try to, I don't know save Twitter, participate in the dumpster fire, I don't know what it is. I guess we'll have to cover it. I would love to say it's irrelevant. We don't talk about 4chan. It's irrelevant.
But all my, the people I know are not on 4chan. That's the difference. And with Facebook, we went through this. I left Facebook a few years ago, but what I left was all my family and friends who don't use anything but Facebook. That's what I left.
Same.
And so in the case of Twitter, it's easier because a lot of my readership and followers and so on have moved to Mastodon, which is great. With Facebook, that way, it's harder to get your grandma or somebody like that to move to another social network just because you did. So when I was like, come on, everybody, let's all leave Facebook. And then nobody did, just me. So
fortunately,
so anyway,
Grandma does not use Twitter.
No, she does not.
Really, I think the real problem is people are addicted. I mean, like almost physically addicted to the churn of Twitter. And
Mastodon is just as addictive. It's the same.
Go there.
Dynamic.
It's a little,
exactly.
It's a little less,
I'm not criticizing.
Offensive.
That's my point. Go to if you're addicted to Twitter, go be addicted to Mastodon instead.
If you need that endorphin hit, you won't get the big outrage arguments though. It's not
kind of like methadone, right? It's like,
it's methadone. Exactly. It's Twitter without the high. That's exactly it. Yeah. Our show. Let's take a little break. We'll come back with more in just a bit. No more Elon or Twitter. And well, one more thing. There are people in the chat room who said Twitter's not dead. Is Twitter not dead?
Well, I don't know. Let me go to Twitter and find out.
I think it's dying.
Forward, but
I guess it could come back. Elon's now acting all contrite, saying he just posted this a couple of minutes ago. Going forward, there'll be a vote for major policy changes. My apologies, won't happen again. A vote? You mean like a poll on Twitter? Oh, that's good. That's good. I appreciate it.
I mean, MySpace is still alive.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be alive. It'll be alive like MySpace is alive.
Just put it on the Fediverse.
Yeah,
they should.
They would be.
I don't know. I think
blocked.
somebody's going to buy it. If I had a couple of $1 billion, I might put a bid on it.
And Elon would be so glad to get out of. The problem is there's debt. And you can't buy it for $2 because there's $13 billion in debt. What are you going to do about that?
Right, that's the problem.
That's not going away. And some of
even
that
if I
debt,
could scrape together $2 billion,
the number one debtor is the Saudi sovereign fund, and you don't want to cross MBS. I hear he can be very angry.
Nor do you want to write him a check either.
Well,
either one.
Yeah, right.
Our show today brought to you by Stamps.com. Oh, it is the season to be jolly, but not to go to the post office. If you're a small business, it's hard because the post office is full of wonderful, cheerful people with arms full of gifts they're mailing, and those long lines are going to slow you down. The good news is if you're a small business, you don't have to slay through the traffic to the post office. If your inbox is more like a blizzard than a winter wonderland, are you rushing to send cards and gifts to your loyal clients? You don't have to go to the post office. Go to Stamps.com. It is not too late to get your holiday mailing and shipping under control with Stamps.com. There's no lines. Sign up now. You'll be printing your own postage in minutes. There's no postage meter, no special ink, just your computer, your printer, and Stamps.com. How do I know? We've been using it for more than a decade now. In fact, Stamps.com has been advertising on our show since 2012, which means I'm wondering if you've heard me talk about it for 10 years and you still haven't tried it. What are you waiting for? This is the time. Your 24/7 post office right at your desk. Stamps.com. And by the way, it's more than just the U.S. Postal Service. This is something that happened just this year, and I'm so excited about. For more than 20 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses using it to conduct business with the U.S. Postal Service. Well, now you get the U.S. Postal Service and UPS. So everything you need for all your mailing and shipping is right there at your desk, your computer. No lines, no traffic, no hassle. And I love it because Stamps.com has arranged major discounts with both services that you can't get at the post office. UPS and USPS rates up to 86% off. I think Stamps.com is great. A stress-free solution for every small business. So use it. Stamps.com. We do, for goodness sakes. Stamps.com. You could print postage right on the envelope if you want. You print your logo. It fills in the return address. It'll even take the sender's address from your website. So if you're on eBay, Etsy, Amazon, if you're a seller there, you don't even have to fill out anything. It'll fill out overseas international mailing forms. It'll fill out, certified mail, all the different forms. It fills out automatically, customs forms from the website, right? And when it's time for the package pickup, you just push a button on your dashboard. An official, a uniformed official with the United States government, aka your mail carrier, will come, or the guy in the brown shorts from UPS will come, and they'll pick it up and they'll take it. You don't have to ever get up from your desk. One other thing I love about Stamps.com, rates are constantly changing. It's very hard to keep track of who's going to be the best person to use. With Stamps.com's Switch and Save feature, you can easily compare carriers and rates, so you know you're getting the best deal every time. And I love this feature. When you're mailing something and Stamps.com says, oh, is that a book? You could do it media mail. They'll save you money. They make suggestions to save you money. You even get a scale so you know exactly how much it's going to cost. You always print exactly the right postage. And it looks so much more professional. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten an Etsy package that's tied up with brown twine and brown paper, and somebody's stuck like 30 stamps onto the front of it. That is not a good, I guess maybe you want to look at really kind of down home, okay, but it's not the most professional look. And it's also happened many times to me, postage due. Not with Stamps.com. You got the scale. You always have you don't pay a penny more or less than you have to. If you're working in an online store, like I said, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, it works seamlessly with and Shopify and all the major shopping carts and marketplaces. Saves you time, saves you typing, makes it very easy and very professional. Really, really professional. This holiday season, trade late nights for silent nights. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with our promo code TWiT. You'll get a special offer. It's 4 weeks of Stamps.com, a 4-week trial, free postage that you can use over a period of time. I think it's a significant amount of free postage. You'll get that free USB scale so you know exactly what you're sending. No long-term commitments, no contracts. All you have to do, go to Stamps.com. There's a microphone in the upper right-hand corner. It says, heard it on a podcast. You click that, and you enter TWiT, and immediately you'll see what a great deal we have for you. 4-week trial, free postage, free digital scale, no long-term commitments, Stamps.com. I cannot recommend it more highly. It's just the best. We couldn't live without it these days. Okay. I'm kind of in the TWiT hangover here. Now another story that makes me mad. The Senate, by acclamation, unanimously has voted to ban TikTok on government devices. The No TikTok on Government Devices Act, introduced by Senator Josh Hawley, of course, passed by unanimous consent late Wednesday. No one objected. The proposal prohibits certain individuals from downloading or using TikTok on any device issued by the United States or a government corporation. Now, obviously, they can't ban, 13 states have done the same. They can't ban TikTok from my phone because, my personal phone or your personal phone or even a government employee's personal phone. But they sure would like to. Hawley said TikTok is a Trojan horse for the Chinese Communist Party, a major security risk to the United States, and until it is forced to sever ties with China completely, it has no place on government devices. Mike, you agree?
No, I think that there is a case for certain types of military personnel. So, for example, if you recall years ago, you could tell where there were secret bases for special forces in Afghanistan because the Fitbit data sort of showed everybody running around in all these Americans running around in the Afghan desert or something like that. But that's a rare case. I mean, most of us are not special forces deployed on secret bases. So I think there's a case to be made not just for TikTok but for any sort of device that harvests information. What I think. I think the states who are banning TikTok for government employees, and now the Senate, it still has to be passed by the House and signed by the president. I think what the government, if the U.S. was serious about it, they'd really understand the risk. The risk isn't so much data. We've talked about this on this show before. The risk is their ability during a conflict to have a lot of propaganda. It's a powerful propaganda tool. I think that the U.S. government should figure out how to sort of monitor TikTok to a certain extent, to have a way to pull the plug if there was a conflict with China, that sort of thing. That would be rational. This is just like irrational. It's just a lot of posturing and pandering to the ignorant, essentially, making it seem like, oh, the Chinese government's watching everything we do, et cetera. I think it's BS.
I have to say, if I were the Chinese government trying to sway the American electorate, I might rush to Twitter faster than I'd rush to TikTok or Facebook.
It costs them $8 a month.
Yeah. TikTok, it's a little harder to sway public opinion. I mean, I guess there's two potential threats to TikTok. One is that it's gathering more information on you than you think or know. For that, I will refer you to a Kaspersky study, TikTok privacy and security. Is TikTok safe to use? Steve Gibson talked about this on Security Now this week. Essentially, their conclusion is it's no different than any other app on your phone. It does this. According to the New York Times, the CIA reportedly investigated TikTok, found no concrete evidence that Chinese intelligence authorities are spying on users. It does not exfiltrate an abnormal amount of information from your phone. If you're using an iPhone, it adheres to the same limits that Apple imposes on other social networks. So the two possibilities are it's spying on you or that it's going to be used to propagandize you.
Yeah.
If it's not spying on you, propaganda is a lot easier over on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying I want to disclose that they are one of our supporters, one of ConnectSafely supporters. We do, in our Parents' Guide to TikTok, raise the China issue. We did this like 2 years ago. We raised the China issue and simply reported what they claimed at the time is that they have no servers in China, although it doesn't matter because you can be sitting in China and access a server that's anywhere in the world.
I do think TikTok has moved their U.S. data to Oracle. I think that
right, but it's theoretically possible for somebody to be sitting in Beijing and log in to a server that's located anywhere. But the point is, I think that much of the information that's on TikTok is quasi-public to begin with. I mean, I can go to TikTok and I can watch people do what they do. Now, admittedly, I don't know what they're watching. Only TikTok knows that kind of data. But I'm with Mike on this. I mean, do I worry at all about China and TikTok? Yes. But I also worry about the fact that Apple has a relationship with China. Everybody has a relationship with China. I mean, there's Chinese chips
Google.
in this phone that I have.
Except Google.
Wait, you saying there's no Chinese chips in a Pixel phone?
Well, that's the phone. Yeah, we're all using, unless you're using Samsung. Most phones, certainly iPhones and Google, are Google phones made in China?
Well, even if they're not made in China, I can't believe that some of
them used to be made by HTC, but I don't know. They might be made in China.
Anyway, my point is that, I mean, China is everywhere. You can't shop at Walmart without doing business in China with China. And I'm not saying that China is benign. I'm not saying that there isn't the possibility of extracting data, but I'm saying that there's so much of that. And it is a fundamental, almost an existential question that Americans have to ask themselves. If we are worried about China, if we really think China is the evil empire of this century, then our entire economy has to be intertwined with it because we are so in bed with China. I mean, when I was a kid, if you wanted to buy a pair of jeans, and I looked, it was something like $12 in the 1950s to buy a pair of jeans. That's like $200 or something today. You can buy jeans at Walmart or Amazon for $10, $12, made in China or maybe Vietnam or somewhere else. But the point is that if we want to break ties with China, we better get ready to pay a lot more for our goods. Not to mention,
actually, the biggest risk from TikTok is just how compelling the content is. I mean, here's a perspective I can give that as somebody who lives in all kinds of different countries all the time. Almost everywhere you go, there are in a lot of countries like Morocco. We spend a lot of time in Morocco, for example. Police are sort of posted in public places, and they stand there, and their job is to watch what's going on. And almost to a person, the police are watching TikTok on their phones. Security guards, it's the same thing here in Oaxaca. You see, if a police person isn't driving or something like that, they're watching TikTok.
Great, they're watching TikTok and not you. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
TikTok look, if there's anything wrong with TikTok, it's that it's extremely addictive and entertaining.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And there are reasons for that because it's pure algorithmic. It's not about social cues or anything like that. And it's kind of an amazing thing that's the sort of thing that others.
I will grant you that they are the best at gathering algorithmically gathering what you're interested in. They're very good at that. Nobody does that better.
That's right.
Is that hazardous to our health?
None of us. I don't know, but it's so good that none of us should admit what we see when we go to TikTok. That's
because it's very telling.
Oh, that
very
explains
telling.
A couple thoughts on TikTok is, one of the things that TikTok has done, and there were signals that this was going to happen, that somebody was going to get this right for a while, which was the idea of mapping from the social graph, meaning that it's all about who you follow and you have to follow the right people. And then you get the content that is aimed at you. What TikTok did and has done and is doing, and that others haven't been able to replicate yet, but are working on, is they've mapped the interest graph, right? So they understand your interests. They've been better essentially at machine learning and data, and they map your interests better. And so when you go there, you see, I see a higher number of things that I actually want to see on TikTok than I do on Instagram, far more than Twitter, Facebook. I don't really go to any longer, YouTube even. So they have done this so well because that's what they were all about, right? They focused everything on that, and they're doing it better. I think the others will catch up, and I think we do have to keep in mind that TikTok is doing, I think, as much as they can to sort of put themselves at arm's length from China, from the Chinese government. Yet there are signs that there's still, some close ties there. I'll just share one. It's a little bit exceptional, but it is data based. And Valuetainment last week, and Patrick Bet-David, who runs that, had this very inflammatory headline in this YouTube video that says how TikTok is destroying America and why it needs to be banned, which I think is over the top. However, he did run this experiment where he showed, here's what all of my views were. And the number of videos that I had that had 0 to 20,000 views, 20 to 100,000 views, 100,000 to a million, and over a million. And he ran this experiment where he says after he did that and he collected that data, he published a video and I think it was in August of this year. He published a video that was inflammatory and critical of the Chinese government. And then he tracked what the data was, the popularity of his videos afterwards up until last week. And you see that they massively dropped off, right? And we're now no longer promored, right?
But is that a hazard to us that anything we say negative about the Chinese government will not appear on TikTok? Is that what we're worried about?
Well, I think
yeah. By the way, you can't say anything about Mastodon on Twitter either. I mean, is that what we're worried about? Really? I mean, is that what we're worried about?
What?
I think I'm more worried about, to be honest, valuetainment using. I mean, YouTube is much more of a problem in terms of radicalization. If TikTok wants personal information, they can buy it like anybody else can from a data broker.
Sure.
If TikTok wants to sway our opinions, maybe that's possible. But the fact that TikTok downgrades negative comments about China, if that's the hazard we're worried about, that seems kind of de minimis.
I've dipped my toe in the TikTok waters here and there, and people talk about things like, views of the Chinese political system and all this stuff. I never saw anything like that when I go to TikTok. It's all more frivolous things and people like, doing things with fish and whatever.
It's their interest, their commercial interest to promote stuff you're going to watch more of, period.
Sure.
But again, I think there's a potential, and I think the Chinese government, the Chinese government, by the way, bans TikTok. Like you can't, TikTok is banned in China.
Right.
Oddly enough. But I think that the Chinese government views TikTok as one lever of many that they have. If they were to invade Taiwan, for example, and there's a global conflict or whatever, I think they would go there. I think
I would worry more if it were the only source of information people were getting, and maybe it is with young people. I don't know. But,
right. Yeah. But that's why my view is that we should sort of be aware of that, of the potential propaganda element. Should that ever occur, and at that point, the plug could be pulled. I just hope it never comes to that. I hope there's no conflict over Taiwan, and it's. But in the meantime, it seems like a lot of the political rhetoric around TikTok is kind of BS.
It also feels a little bit xenophobic to me, because there are plenty of American companies that are invading our privacy far more, and they're not doing anything about that.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm sorry.
And again, TikTok, rather the Chinese Communist Party, if they want to influence Americans, have much more direct avenues to do so. Yeah.
And so TikTok is pretty good. I mean, as again, they are one of the groups of companies we work with at ConnectSafely, and their parental controls and their child protection systems, while none of them are perfect, are on par with what you would expect from a decent company. I mean, they do a good job trying to protect kids from bullying and other harm. So, from where I sit, I don't have any huge complaints about that aspect.
There was a story this week, which I didn't read because it seemed like link bait to me, that TikTok pushes harmful content every 2 minutes.
No, kind of how you define harmful content.
Yeah.
If it's bikini, maybe, I don't know.
We're saying that if you are a teenager and you sign up, that every few minutes you're immediately pushed, toward content. They know nothing about you. You're immediately pushed toward content that is pushing you toward eating disorder kind of things.
And self-harm stuff.
So, self-harm.
So this is from the Center for Countering Digital Hate. Report they published this week found it can take less than 3 minutes after signing up for a TikTok account to see content related to suicide, which I have never seen on TikTok. I must be doing something wrong. Or about 5 more minutes to find a community promoting eating disorder content. Again, I must be doing something wrong because I haven't seen that.
I think the thing to think about, I think here, just to sort of put it in perspective, is that if we put one of the other platforms on the table, if it was Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, we'll sort of put all the rest of our Twitter conversation aside, and we felt like as soon as you started discriminating again or posting, hate speech, or we'll not even call it hate speech, criticism of, because to be fair, the Valuetainment example, it was just criticism of the policies of the Chinese government. If any of us started publishing policies on any of these US-based Twitter platforms and all of criticism of the US government, and all of a sudden our content started having lower thresholds of followers and those kinds of things, I think we would have a problem with that. I think we would feel like that's not something we want to support, and that's not something that we want to think of as a platform that is creating the sort of atmosphere that we want. And so I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't stop using TikTok. I still use TikTok myself. I'm just saying we should go into all these things with awareness. We talked about earlier the fact that there was this false narrative that we were having a public town square, and come to find out it's not really public. And now we need to think about sort of a different path forward. And certainly this is just another example of the fact that these platforms are owned by companies, but now these companies are influenced by governments in ways that really we should have some transparency around the facts of what's really happening and what's really driving, especially these interest graph driven phenomenon, which is in TikTok today, but is likely to be in all of these platforms in the years ahead.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to have what Jeff Jarvis would call a moral panic over TikTok, what the real thing we should be panicking about or freaking out about or thinking about is the fact that algorithms and artificial intelligence that can custom tailor things just the way we want them, this is going to be ubiquitous. It's not. Yeah. This is not about TikTok. It's about everything, right? So
exactly.
We're entering in a world. We're entering in a world of where the vast majority, almost all of content that will be posted online will be synthetic media, right? Yeah. AI is going write the words we read. It's going to create the pictures that we see. It's going to create videos we see. And this will be highly tweakable and customizable. And this is something that I think nobody's really talking about. TikTok is kind of doing us a favor because they're saying, here's a little tiny glimpse of how everything is going to work in the future. And that's what we should be talking about.
And it's going to get worse with the metaverse and AR and VR and whatever evolves from this. Because we're voluntarily putting ourselves into a virtual environment anyway, right? How do I know who that avatar really is? How do I know who's behind that avatar? That car that drives by, how do I know whether that's just some cool car somebody created or whether it's something that Ford is trying to get me to buy? I mean, there's so much that we are going to have to, put our critical thinking caps on if we want to survive the metaverse, and it's going to just be overwhelming.
I think the metaverse is going nowhere, honestly. I think it's...
I don't know.
I feel like there's a homeostatic mechanism in humans that we are, we'll eat too much sugar or we'll watch too many TikTok videos. And then we start to go, oh yeah, and we protect ourselves. There's some people who are going to fall down the rabbit hole, but most humans, when they're faced with addictive behavior, eventually go, oh yeah, this isn't working for me, and back off. Or maybe that's not the case.
No, I think that is the case, and I think we've already seen it with the election. So the midterm elections, the sway of disinformation, deliberate political disinformation, it was less persuasive this time around, even though there's a lot more of it. And so we basically, there's a self-correcting mechanism
off of it, sort of.
Enough to the point where the election denier types mostly lost. And so it was just a couple of years ago when disinformation was way more effective. So I think we are capable of learning, of adapting, and of protecting ourselves and finding out what's healthy, what's unhealthy, and so on. And again, like you say, Leo, some people are just getting at McDonald's every day, but most of us don't.
Yeah, and I would hope it's not the government's role to protect ourselves.
I hate to throw cold water in you, but I was in Little Rock, Arkansas about a year ago, and I couldn't help notice that almost everybody I ran into was obese. I mean, I was just shocked.
It's a national problem. It's
especially when you get away from the coast, especially when you get into the red states. It is there is a very large segment of our population that is not stepping away from the excessive sugar, and I'm almost using that as a metaphor. I mean, whether it's overeating or voting in a way that's against your self-interest or whatever, there are people in this country who, for whatever reason, are not thinking about what is truly in their best interest, at least not acting on it. And
it's a perfect metaphor, actually, because the companies that create the most compelling junk food have done that by sort of reverse engineering our desires for salt and fat and sugar and so on.
TikTok is doing, except instead of with our eyeballs, with our taste buds. Yeah,
that's true.
But I do think we're learning. I honestly, the news is it's slow. But the news is going forth. We've got an obesity epidemic. People are getting sick. What we were telling, partly it was because the U.S. government was saying, don't eat fat. And so people were choosing Cheerios. And I think that's kind of turned a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's the arc of justice is long and bends towards less Cheerios. I don't know. But I feel like, to paraphrase Martin Luther King, I feel like you can have some hope. All I know is when I go to TikTok, all I really ever want to see is more and more cheesy gordita crunches because
talk about junk food.
That's junk food, but it's my son.
Looks delicious.
So you might
your son makes
people might say, oh, here, you'll like this one. This is 4.5 million views. People might say, oh, Leo, you like TikTok because your son makes his living on TikTok. But even he understands that this isn't going to
look at that sandwich.
How does he stay so thin?
Yeah, he doesn't eat this stuff. Are you kidding? He's a pusher. I don't know, because he's never brought it over to my house. He makes it, but he never. I
hate to admit it, but he could come over, take it over to my house anytime.
Doesn't that look good? Oh my God! All right, a little. To me, that's TikTok. That's all I need is just food porn. Let's take a little break. Come back with more. I do think. I just make it clear. It's perfectly legitimate for government to say government employees can't have TikTok on their government-owned phone. That's fine. If an employer wants to say that, that's fine. The Department of Defense bans Strava, the running app, because it turned out you could tell where stuff was at the Pentagon because everybody was using it. That's appropriate. I'm not saying you shouldn't ban it from government phones. I'm just saying I feel like there is a move in Congress to the FC. There's an FCC commissioner saying we should ban TikTok nationally. There's a move to banning it. And I think that that's one of those things where you go, okay, good, we took care of social. What's next? Where there's really a much larger problem.
Yeah, it's almost virtual signaling in a way.
It's virtual signaling.
Exactly. Yeah. It kills two birds with one stone among mostly on the right politically, because TikTok is a new thing. It's a very powerful cultural force,
right?
And then China's involved. So it's like you can rack up votes by opposing those two things all at once.
Yep.
And really, how many government employees have government phones?
Right.
Is that I have no idea, but I would guess that most don't. I don't think postal workers have government phones. I don't think. No. I don't know. I think we're talking about a few thousand phones.
I guarantee one thing: if they have a government phone, they also have a personal phone where they can put TikTok on it.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm sure they do, and you can't.
They shouldn't have any social apps on their government phones unless you work in social media.
No, they should be very
careful. Social media apps.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I provide a phone to an employee, it's my right to say you can't be using the. Or at work, they can't be sitting watching TikTok at work all the time. I don't stop.
And they have no expectation of privacy either. I mean,
that's
you
right.
Can spy on your employees.
Of course, have upheld that time and time again. Yeah. You're using my gear, my internet. I can tell you what the rules are. But it's okay, John. You can watch all the TikTok you want. I don't mind. As long as it's Salt Hanks.
Research.
Salt Hanks Gordita Crunch. He's on Mastodon right now. Good job. I do not own a stake in Mastodon, by the way. No one does. In fact, Mastodon just costs us money. It doesn't make us any money. Our show today, speaking of America's obesity crisis, brought to you by Noom. Now, this is an app you absolutely should put on your phone. I don't go anywhere without my Noom app. What is Noom? It's not a diet. So that's really important, because diets, I think we've learned, diets don't work. If I tell you may not eat something, what are you going to crave more than anything else? That thing, right? And eventually, you're going to eat it. You really are. Noom is different. It is a psychology-first approach that lets you stay focused on what's important to you. When you decide to lose weight, it's not just the number on the scale. There's a lot of reasons people want to lose weight: to be healthier, to be more active, to be better looking. Whatever your reason for losing weight, whatever reason for wanting it, I shouldn't even say losing weight, for wanting to take control of your body, Noom's there to help. Do you eat because you're bored? Can you this is a bad one for me. Can you pass up food when it's free? If somebody brings me donuts, I'm going to eat the donut. If the answer is yes, don't stress. Noom Weight helps you break the cycle and change your habits for good. For instance, I'm a fog eater, and I know this because having done Noom now for more than a year, I've gone through all the lessons you get with Noom. You get all sorts of things to help you understand what you're doing. I've learned that, I observe. I go in and I'm not paying attention. I stuff my mouth because I'm watching a TikTok or whatever. I'm watching those videos from Henry and I got to eat something, right? But that insight is so much better than being restrictive. Sam was saying, don't do this, don't do that. It's understanding what you do so you can make a choice. And that's how you break the cycle. That's how you change your habits for good. Noom Weight is not a diet. It's different. It uses psychology to help you understand your eating habits, to learn how to make healthier choices every day. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices, why you're craving what you crave. And it's such a success. To date, Noom Weight has helped more than 4.6 million people lose weight. Active Noomers lose an average of 15 pounds in 16 weeks. 95% of customers say Noom Weight is a good long-term solution. And I know it. I've been using it. Lisa loves it. She didn't have much weight to lose, but those last few pounds were very hard for her. Noom made all the difference. And a year later, she hasn't gained the weight back. We also have members of our community. Brianna Wu, she's been looking fantastic. I said, what have you been doing? She said, I did Noom. I lost 100 pounds. Now, not everybody loses 100 pounds, obviously. Not everybody should lose 100 pounds. Lisa lost, I think, 5 or 10. But she's very, very happy. And I'll tell you what, both of us, every meal, we pull out our phones. We do our Noom. Every evening, we do our lessons. You can have a regular counselor who works with you. You can have a group that works with you. You get to choose how Noom works. In fact, one of the things you'll notice when you first sign up for Noom is it asks you a lot of questions. That's so it can tailor a program specifically to you. Their flexible program focuses on progress, not perfection. We're not talking giving up carbs or creating other restrictions, because that's counterproductive. If you've got cravings or food FOMO, I definitely have food FOMO when it's pizza day at TWiT. It's hard for me. But Noom Weight has helped me lose weight while enjoying my favorite foods, being conscious about what I'm doing. You choose your level of support from 5-minute daily check-ins to personal coaching. They've published more than 30 peer-reviewed scientific articles to inform users, practitioners, scientists, the public. Peer-reviewed articles about their methods and effectiveness. In fact, they're doing a book. You can pre-order it, the first book ever, The Noom Mindset, a deep dive into the psychology of behavior change. They use cognitive behavioral therapy and other established psychological techniques to help you understand what you're doing and to take control of your health. I love it. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom Weight's psychology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today. You could, I know you're smart. You can go to the App Store and download it, but please do me a favor. First, go to Noom, NOOM.com/twit, Noom.com/twit. A, that's where you'll sign up for the trial. B, if you do that, then they know that you saw it here. And we love these guys. We want to keep them as a sponsor. We want to keep them happy. So go to Noom.com/twit. Let them know you saw it on the show. Noom. It has worked for me. It works for Lisa. It works for so many people I know. One of our regular chatters lost 60 pounds. In fact, he was on yesterday. We were practicing for a new show, and he called in, and I was watching the chat room. People saying, "What is that? Retcon 5? What?" Yeah, I didn't recognize him either. Noom, it works. All right, let's see what else to talk about. Samuel Bankman-Fried arrested in the Bahamas. Charges from the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He will be presumably extradited from the Bahamas to face criminal charges in the U.S. This is, of course, the founder of FTX. In fact, the funny thing is they arrested him the day before he was supposed to testify in Congress. This guy was acting as if these things happen. I didn't do anything wrong, and it was puzzling me that he was not. That was what was it? Is it true he did nothing illegal? Well, maybe he did.
It's a bad year for billionaires,
Good. They deserve it.
I hope that we stop worshiping billionaires, freaking billionaires in America.
To some degree, he got away with what he did, just like Bernie Madoff, because we do worship wealth.
We do, yeah.
Yep.
I remember when the Industry Standard, which was this Silicon Valley magazine, came out, and they used to put all these people on their cover, and the only thing these people had ever accomplished was that they raised money. They didn't make money. They didn't have a product that was profitable. They just got other people to give them money, and that got them on the cover of a magazine. And I don't know what it is that Bankman, accomplished other than convincing people to turn money over to him. But, why don't we reserve those covers for people who actually accomplish something?
Here's the question, by the way, people who did ads for FTX, including Tom Brady, his wife Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, the famous ad on the Super Bowl, Larry David saying, and Shaq all did endorsements. Shaq saying, hey, his defense is he's being sued. They all are. Hey, just a paid endorser.
I was lying.
I don't know anything about crypto. I was just a paid endorser.
Yeah, his defense is he was lying.
That, by the way, that defense works. Isn't that what? Who was it? Tucker Carlson's defense.
Yeah.
Was
nobody should take me seriously.
Nobody should take me seriously. I'm an entertainer.
Right.
Well, the thing that's so interesting about this is that he was flying so high. He's like the guy from WeWork or Elizabeth Holmes or any of these other narcissistic money raisers, and just had all the answers, right out of school practically, and just had all the answers about how to do his business. But he was just doing shady businesses, pumping the people's money into Alameda Research, doing all these shady things. And by the way, I bet he can't wait to get extradited because the jail he's been in the Bahamas is supposed to be a horrible jail.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. The inmates supposedly have to remove the feces of the bucket and all this kind of, it's really kind of not a happy place to be. But he could get a slap on the wrist. He could get a few years in jail at the end of this, or he could get a life sentence. Nobody knows. I fear they may choose to make an example out of him. And then, he could get a couple of life sentences like Bernie Madoff did.
Well, we know that in this country, the worst crime you can commit is to steal from rich people. That's why Elizabeth Holmes will be doing more than 12 years. Sunny Balwani more than 14 years, not because they hurt people's health by proposing a way to test blood by the droplet, but because rich people lost money. Mm-hmm. So that's the worst thing you can do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they throw the book at him. He has been indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud the Federal Election Commission because he was giving a lot of money to candidates, both left and right, and to commit campaign finance violations. So I guess the larger question is, I saw a member of Congress on the floor say, we shouldn't, this guy was a fraud, but we shouldn't extend this to doubting Bitcoin. Is that fair? This isn't a crime of crypto. This is something separate.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think that is fair on its face. Yeah. I don't recommend.
I feel like
Bitcoin,
this congressman must have been sponsored by Crypto.com, but okay, or Binance.
No, but to Larry's point, we should be investing our money in things that employ people, things that feed people, things that provide goods and services people need and use, instead of crypto where it's just like, just make me rich. I don't care if I'm contributing anything to society. I just want money, and therefore I'm going to invest in Bitcoin. I think that's the best reason to avoid Bitcoin. But I don't think the crimes of this particular case are specific to how he ran his businesses, and I don't think they necessarily reflect on Bitcoin generally, even though there are other exchanges that are also doing shady things in addition to him.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. He
a little bit, I think, greenwashed his activities by talking about effective altruism, by donating the fraudulently earned money, because there was money in some form or fashion. He delivered $40 million in political campaign contributions, mostly to the DNC and other left wing. The biggest one was the Protect Our Future PAC, which was the Effective Altruism PAC, $27 million to that. To the House Majority PAC, a super PAC supporting House Democrats, $6 million. But he also had other donations to Republican candidates as well. I mean, if you're making political donations, the smart thing to do is to spread it around so that everybody owes you. But also, I think he was using that as a way of, because remember all those glowing articles about SBF and what a benefactor society he was, and all that.
He was an amazing PR person. Like you also can't get around the fact that he talked a big game. People wanted to believe. We just still have this obsession. The media has this obsession with creating heroes, and they love to make billionaire heroes. Right. And so that whole that whole theme is sort of also under scrutiny, right? Because he was one. Elon Musk was one for many years, right? Now we're seeing that those things create these just terrible outcomes, almost one after another. I think the thing that I would like to say though, in terms of crypto, is crypto is the best performing asset of the past decade.
Is that true?
Because of that,
even after the crash. Wow, I didn't realize that.
It is over a period of time, right?
If you bought it early enough.
If you bought Bitcoin when it was a nickel, you're doing fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that makes it a platform for corruption too, right? But to me, that's the real problem. It's not that there's something wrong with Bitcoin, but it's very easy because it's new, it's technology. It's very easy to scam people. It was a lot easier for SBF to scam people than Bernie Madoff because he wasn't doing dollars. The core, remember what blockchain and Bitcoin came out of, though, was the 2009 financial crisis, where there was this lack of accountability, this lack of transparency in the financial system. And it was essentially trying to find a way to get beyond that. And I think the core of that, and then it has since then advanced into this idea of also helping the unbanked throughout the world who get taken advantage of through greedy forces that sometimes victimize them and put them in positions where they end up working jobs or other things for others who, again, centralize resources, extract the value, leave the average worker, the average person without much power and without much opportunity. And so cryptocurrency, blockchain at its core does have some answers to some of those problems. And I think we shouldn't lose sight of that with the fact that there are charlatans going into this that are using it as a platform to steal from people, to do their get rich quick schemes and all of that. Just as cash is used, just as other platforms are used, the markets themselves are used. It does need regulation, and it needs it fast. And the hard thing is regulation is going to continue to have a very difficult time catching up with and staying up with as fast as cryptocurrency and sort of blockchain and the crypto economy are evolving and moving right now. So yeah, I just think we should keep in mind that the core of this is not. I don't think we should call into question the value of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency with what happened with FTX.
But isn't part of the value proposition the lack of regulation? I mean, isn't that what they're after? Yeah,
and also,
well, go ahead, Larry.
No, I mean, the lack of regulation and also the lack of any connection to real world value. I mean, if you, I bought a CD the other day, 4.5%. Well, I know what's going to happen with my CD. Somebody else is going to borrow the money. The bank's going to make a spread. Maybe somebody gets to buy a house. I mean, something potentially positive will happen as a result of that CD. I invest in a stock market. Well, it's a little bit of a casino, but at least there's some correlation between the performance of the company and the value of my stock. I don't see if I had a Bitcoin portfolio, and I have a very tiny one, like I buy a couple of $100 just to play with it, just to figure it out. I don't see any relationship between my portfolio and any value in the world other than what somebody can make from Bitcoin.
It's also a little value, just as the U.S. dollar is, though, right? So the U.S. dollar only has as much value as the people who believe in it think it is, right? So I think that is a more apt.
I'll tell you the difference, Jason. People don't buy a dollar to speculate because the dollar is so stable. Nobody buys. Right. I'm going to buy $100,000, figuring that next month it'll be worth $200,000. Right. So that's the biggest difference, and that's why people buy cryptocurrency and NFTs. And so the volatility kind of gives you this casino-like effect. Like I could make it big. So you're right, Jason, to say over the total lifespan of crypto, it's been a great investment. But as you narrow that down, it becomes less and less good. For instance, here's from a tweet from somebody in the chat room put up: total returns over the past 5 years, Bitcoin's 5.5%. T-bills, much like your CDs, 5.4%. Really? But Ben says the Bitcoin was a little more volatile than the other. This is actually a more interesting analysis. This is from Chain Analysis. This is the FTX Investor Impact. It was not the biggest impact on cryptocurrency of the year. Far worse, the FTX collapse is here. Far worse, the Celsius collapse, the Terra UST token collapse, the Three Arrows Capital collapse. And here's Terra, here's Celsius, here's Three Arrows Capital. That cost investors billions and billions of dollars. Celsius,
and that is the fundamental analysis you can do on blockchain too. And to be clear,
that's a good point. Those would be hidden. Similar. These losses and gains would be hidden in many other investments, but because it's on blockchain, it's public. So somebody can go through that blockchain and say, well, here's what people gained and what people lost. That's a very good point.
So that is the fundamental analysis like you would do with a stock, right? That's a similar. And I was saying my connection with Bitcoin is very similar to Larry's. I own a very small amount, mostly out of curiosity and to follow it as a tech journalist, right? To understand it, but not it's not a fundamental part of my portfolio or anything like that. But I think that we should, it's a very difficult thing to understand and to also to try to understand what the future of it is and where it's going and what the possibilities are. And there is a lot of froth and there's a lot of get rich quick people that are chasing it, as you mentioned, Leo. And that is one of the things that we have to understand about it, right? There are essentially Ponzi schemes that are parading as cryptocurrencies, and that is one of the most dangerous parts about it. And that's why there is the need for regulation. Like I do believe what the folks like Coinbase and a few others are saying, that we just need some rules and guidelines. We think everyone will be better off because they know that there are some really negative things happening, and those have the potential to destroy or take away from the fundamental value of what people who want to build some things, to bring resources to the unbanked, to create a store of value that's not just tied to a government and government spending and those kinds of things. And those are values that I think are still potentially valuable with cryptocurrency, but the story is still unwritten and an interesting one.
How about NFTs? I really like what you're saying about the unbanked people who are not participants in the overall financial operation of the world. They are really left out. And so perhaps a cryptocurrency, although I have to say El Salvador does not do itself any favors by changing its currency to Bitcoin.
For sure.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is as you mentioned, it's a way to get rich quick, and it's also a currency. As a currency, it seems to me that it's used mostly by cyber criminals for things like ransomware, DDoS extortion, cryptojacking, and crypto theft itself. There's a lot of theft of cryptocurrencies, and then that's when the enthusiasts feel really burned about the lack of the kinds of protections that exist in the conventional financial markets, where you're protected to a certain extent. If somebody steals, somebody hacks and robs the place where you're keeping your cryptocurrencies and steals them all, well, too bad. You're out of luck. That's the end of the story.
To be fair, more fraud is committed with the U.S. dollar with dollars than are committed with cryptocurrency.
But we have protection.
You still have the blockchain to track things too.
That's been a global currency for centuries. You can't compare this new thing that most people don't even know what it is to the U.S. dollar, which, by the way, it's for counterfeiters, for North Korea, for all drug traffickers. The $100 bill is the currency of crime globally. Yes, that's true, but it's not really.
Let me ask about
FBI loves
your bank account. You have protection.
Yeah, you're not really anonymous.
There's a record.
Yeah.
You have protection. If somebody hacks into your bank account, federal law requires that the bank make you whole. So it's not
regulation, right?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry. I was confirming.
Maybe that's the biggest mistake that we've made, is that we haven't regulated crypto as a security. Maybe it should be regulated as a security.
Maybe insured, like the FDIC.
Insured, yeah. How about NFTs?
You mentioned NFT. Yeah.
How about NFTs?
How about you buy your Donald Trump trading card?
So you know what? We're going to make fun of it, right? $99. Here it is. They were the cheesiest, the worst, bad Photoshops. Apparently, they took clothing from catalogs and public domain sources and put his face on them. And but I got to point out something. Not only did it sell out at $99 each, but it is currently, the floor price is $230.
You mean it was a good investment?
It was a very good investment.
And if you sell it, the Trump organization gets 10%.
10%. That's the way NFTs often work. The one of one NFTs, which are only 2.4% of the 45,000 unit collection, about 1,000 cards, they're selling as much as 6 ETH at the time of writing. This one, here's the one that really could cost you a lot of money there. It's $667. It was $99 if you got it. There's Mr. Trump looking young and fit, and his hair is marvelous, holding the torch from the Statue of Liberty in front of the Statue of Liberty, holding the same torch.
This would be way funnier if the Statue of Liberty didn't have a torch.
Like he stole it. But hey, if you bought it, it's $3,667 now.
I wonder if somebody's manipulating that, though. I wonder if that's really a natural market or somebody's playing.
It is possible to manipulate it. You can buy it and sell it to yourself and get the price to go up. Perhaps. I mean, we mocked it this week on Twig when it came out. I thought this is just
if you apply
grift.
Trump's razor, that is the explanation. Trump's razor is that when it comes to Donald Trump, the stupidest explanation is the one that's likely to be true. So yeah, somebody's.
Was this one with him riding a red, white, and blue elephant? I wish I got that one.
I actually expected by now he was going to tell us all it was a joke, but because I thought it would be an absolute disaster for him.
Even Steve Bannon thought this was dumb.
Yeah,
he mocked it. He said it's a terrible, this is a scam.
Bannon and I ever agreed on anything.
But I got to tell you, it may be a scam. But by the way, here he is signing a tablet with a
digital Sharpie.
It's so bizarre because that's an Apple Pencil. Is this an iPad? I'm very confused about it. It is a digital Sharpie, but these are digital. You don't have a physical NFT. So, but I just have to point out, if you were cagey enough to pick up one of these cards, you're making
a lot of his fans are like, "Where's my card? I thought I was buying a physical card. Where is it? I can't find it." And
they probably didn't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think there's something going on. I just can't believe that there are that many people that actually would have bought. I want to say stupid, but on the other hand, maybe they're not so stupid if they doubled or tripled their money.
Let me sort this by price high to low.
But the other question is, what's they going to be worth a month from now?
Well, that's why if you got it, sell it. Wait a minute. Now, some of these this is a one of one. Somebody says current price is $118 quadrillion. I don't think that's definitely sushipitious. That's not actually what it's been trading for.
Well, you can sell it for any price you want.
I guess, yeah.
It'd make a point.
They're
Remember
quite
Beanie
attractive.
Babies? They were worth a lot for a little while.
They're just, the funny thing is that it's the worst Photoshop job I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he could have spent some money on just it's the same, they use the same face in all of them.
Well, but they needed 45,000 of them. They probably didn't.
Oh, maybe that's it. They just didn't have time. Yeah. All right. So NFTs, I will no longer mock anybody buying an NFT.
NFTs, they do have some potentially, good uses longer term. Like there's the idea that they could be used for, a number of authentication and cybersecurity uses. So the technology there is something that has the opportunity to have some positive impacts as well. I know I keep getting into these kinds of things, but I think looking at the larger ecosystem of these things, it is interesting. And there's also one of the more interesting thoughts I've seen about NFTs is that if we have this idea that we create value around digital goods and we sort of spend more time purchasing, or more resources, I should say, purchasing digital goods, because then you sort of have it, and we're creating less or buying fewer physical goods, which is sort of having this negative impact on the environment with all the things that are shipped and all of that. But if I own it essentially digitally, and we have sort of different in a more evolved sense of digital ownership, that you can call it up and look at it and it's a bit of a one of a kind, that there are some potential good uses of that, right? Especially if they are less expensive and over time you're collecting things and creating less
I'd be more interested in the use of the provenance blockchain on physical goods. Like if I had a Hannes Wagner card and you could prove the provenance, the card still is the item. These although I can't knock it, they sold 45,000 of these at $100. That's 4.5 million, and they get 10% of every secondary sale. This is potentially hundreds of millions of dollars
for sure.
And all they got is they paid some kid $17 an hour to make crappy.
I mean, the reason I wouldn't buy an NFT, even if it was a piece of art that I really appreciated, is because
you want the thing.
Unlike even a print, I mean, you kind of the point you made. I mean, if I had any interest in enjoying one of these Donald Trump things, I just download an image of it and put it on my wall.
That's all you need.
Yeah, I wouldn't own it, but I get to enjoy it.
Who cares?
Well, if there's an ego, and there are some aspects of it. I mean, I've got some art that's numbered, and but frankly, I don't care about it. The fact that I may own one of 20.
I'm going to make a confession. Last Christmas, maybe it was 2 Christmases ago. Remember when Trump got COVID? They made the White House. There's a White House gift shop. It's just not affiliated, but it's they made a challenge coin with a Trump's likeness on it, and conquers COVID on it. And I bought 2. I bought one for my father-in-law, who's a Trump fan, and I bought one because I thought this is history in some perverse, weird way. and now I own it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I also, since you all
take a picture and make an NFT.
I'll make an NFT of it. Since you all were good and revealed your stake in Bitcoin, not like it's whole having a stock in the company we cover, but I somewhere have a wallet with 7.85 Bitcoin in it. I can't unlock it because I forgot the password. It's well known. But there are people who say Bitcoin's going to come back. It's very much like the same people said, save your Confederate dollars, boys. The South will rise again. But if it goes up to some analyst said, don't worry, it's going to $250,000 per coin. I got my retirement, man. I'm good. Yeah. I'll spend the rest of my days trying to find the password.
I was saying, you think you'll ever unlock
station? Then
I could buy my own radio station. All right, let's take it. By the way, Jason, I don't know if you've noticed. In effect, I have. This is what TWiT is.
Right.
It's like a little radio TV station. When I was starting out in radio, it was every DJ's goal to own a radio station. Like, right, Larry? Larry used to work around.
Oh yeah, of course.
Someday I'll own a radio station. I without even attempting it, I've done it. Yeah.
You have. Yeah. I don't have anything as significant as TWiT, but I remember when I first registered my web page, Larry the World, back in 1990, I said, I'm a publisher.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever make me a publisher. Now, I don't get millions of readers, but there's something nice about owning your own piece of meat.
That's what I'm saying.
Owning your own printing press.
That's why everybody should have their own presence on the web that they control, that they own.
Yeah.
That's the best way to assure that your reputation is owned by you.
Exactly.
Actually, my reaction, I don't know, you all blog. My first reaction was, this is so self-centered. I can't believe I'm posting on my site an article about me. I thought I was kind of embarrassed by the whole thing. I got over it.
That's because you're not a narcissist.
Maybe
right. You're not a narcissist.
Doesn't everybody want to read about me?
If you had gone to Trump University, you would have learned.
I should have learned how to be a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take a break. I do want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. I have been a Audible customer since the year 2000. Audible has been, I think, is our longest running advertiser of all. We love Audible. Since even before they were bought by Amazon, for 15 years we've been talking about audiobooks from Audible. I have in my library more than 500 audiobooks from Audible in every possible arena. Lately, I've been doing a lot of sci-fi, and I thought, I didn't realize this, but apparently Mr. Musk is heavily influenced by Ian Banks, the late Scottish sci-fi author, and by his Culture series. In fact, the barges that those space boosters land on, that very cool thing, those are all named after things in the novel, Honey, I Love You, or whatever it's called. So I've decided to go through the Culture series. They're all on Audible. It just comes to life in your brain. And I think your brain is so much better than Hollywood at making the sets, at making the people. And you imagine it, your imagination takes off. It's one of the reasons I love audiobooks from Audible.com. I want to encourage you, if you've been hearing our ads and you've been holding off, this would be a great time. By the way, a great time to give the gift of Audible as well for the holidays. When it comes to audio entertainment, there's no better place than Audible. It's the home for stories told by the biggest stars in Hollywood: Ethan Hawke, Kerry Washington, Kevin Hart. Audible's home to epic adventures, chilling mysteries, can't miss comedies. I've done almost all of the Agatha Christie audiobooks. I just love them. Let your imagination soar with audiobooks, podcasts, Audible originals. One of the things Audible does that I really love is they're doing recordings of classic sci-fi that never got recorded because back in the day, Tor didn't have the budget to record those. So Audible's doing it in their own studios. You can get the Dune series done beautifully by Audible. You can get Asimov's Foundation series done beautifully by Audible. Never recorded originally. Audible made them. I love that. Audible is the home of storytelling. All your audio and entertainment in one app. Get the app on your phone. Text TWiT to 500-500 right now. They'll give you a link. You can download it and then start listening. As a member of Audible, you also get access to a huge and growing library of included audiobooks. So stuff that Audible just, for instance, I was listening to the Fletch after I saw the movie with John Hamm, Confess Fletch. It turned out they were all kind of part of my subscription. It was great. They're just part of the deal. You can download and stream all the included titles as much as you want. You get to choose a title a month from their catalog to keep. So that's how I've accumulated 500 plus audiobooks over the last 22 years. Wow. The latest bestsellers are there, new releases, classics. Also, an incredible selection of audiobooks, every genre, bestsellers, new releases, celebrity memoirs. Audible is a place your imagination can run wild. Listen about the lives of celebrities, journey to your best self, check out the spider web of true crimes, discover new worlds, old worlds, how to make a better world. New members can try it free for 30 days. Let Audible help you discover new ways to laugh, be inspired, or be entertained. I love Audible. I know you will too. If you're not yet a member, I know most of you are, but if you are not yet a member, join the club. Audible.com/twit, or again, text TWiT to 500-500. Audible.com/twit, or text TWiT, TWiT, to 500-500. That'll give you a chance to try Audible for free for 30 days. You get the title, but you also get this huge selection of Audible content available to you. Audible, audible.com/twit. I'm a huge fan. And I think we're going on a little vacation after the holidays, and I think I'm going to bring a bunch of audiobooks to listen to. I love those audiobooks. They're so great.
Audible recommendation, Leo?
Yeah. That's you. Jason, you've been around long enough. We like to hear your Audible recommendations. Yeah.
I'll just throw a quick one. Atomic Habits. I've been re-listening to this one
that's
from
a
James
classic.
Clear.
Yeah.
I love it. There's one line in there, and I think it kind of connects to some things we've been talking about today that I love, which is we tend to think that we rise to the level of our goals when the truth is we often fall to the level of our systems.
Oh, yes.
And that happens for human beings. That's where the habits part come in, but it also happens for organizations as well, right? And so I think that is just maybe a little bit of a taste. That's my biggest takeaway from this book.
That's really profound,
that
though.
one.
And I think that's really true. I know that's true in my life and for our company. It's very easy to settle. And instead of rising to your highest hopes and aspirations. I like that. I've never read this. I'm putting it on my list right now. It's going into my wish list because I don't have any credits yet, but I will have a couple on the 22nd.
It's funny, you were talking earlier when you're doing that thing for Zoom. I've lost some weight also, and one of the ways I've lost weight, I'm doing a lot of walking.
Love walking.
Listening to books while I walk is fantastic. I mean, it really actually almost encouraged me to walk, to listen to books.
It's right.
Same.
Apple has that thing, where you have walk with Dolly Parton or whatever. But it's kind of funny because I think these people are in a studio and they're putting walking sounds behind them. I don't think they're actually walking,
right,
but they make it out like they're walking. Sometimes they get a little bit out of breath, It's hysterical.
Wow.
These fitness plus walking.
I wouldn't have picked Dolly Parton as my walking partner, but
that was my favorite one of all things. I
like
really
Dolly
enjoyed
Parton.
it, walking with Dolly. But she only walked for about 20 minutes, then I had to keep going, and she turned around. So
yeah,
that's why it's better to listen to an audiobook. It'll take you the whole way. Actually, I'm trying to walk more.
I never understand, celebrities and what they endorse. Like, why would you buy a fragrance from a basketball player?
Oof.
I don't imagine basketball
Fresh
players
sweat.
smell all that good. Right?
Fresh sweat.
Yeah.
No, one of the things I learned from Noom is if you walk after a meal, it brings your blood sugar down. There's something about walking that is really not even a long walk or a fast walk, just a stroll for 20 minutes or 10 minutes after a meal. It makes a huge difference.
It also helps your digestion too.
Well, yeah, it's all your body expects this,
Yeah.
And Leo, Helen Putnam Regional Park is the most beautiful walking space on the planet.
Love it.
It is paradise for walking.
There's only one bad thing about it. There's a very steep hill.
Yes, we call it the Widowmaker.
So I'm huffing and puffing, and Lisa's going up the hill, and I'm going, wait for me, I'm getting there. It's pretty steep. But then when you come back, you go down the hill, so it's okay.
Right.
It works out. It all evens out.
I hate walking down hills. I'm better off walking up hills.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same way.
I like trudging up a hill. I agree with you. Yeah. When I lived in San Francisco, in the hills of San Francisco, for some reason, women they'd take off their heels and walk backwards up the hills. There must have been some book somewhere that said it's good for your butt if you walk backwards up the hill. I never did that. I thought that doesn't look like fun. I'd rather walk forward up the hill. All right. That's our fitness segment for the day. Thank God that's over.
Yeah.
By the way, while we had our Elon conversation, sorry to bring this back, he posted in the middle of our conversation, coincidence, maybe. He posted, should I step down as head of Twitter? I will abide by the results of this poll. And
I'll vote.
An hour later, it's 58% say yes. And after it jumped up to 58%, he posted, be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
What are you going to hire?
So dumb.
He is such a master of attention. He's an attention whore.
Yeah.
Such an attention whore. He's a troll.
The only thing would be worse if he hired Kanye to take over. I mean, what could be worse?
Well, first of all, I have to presume that because he posted this, he's got somebody. And it's probably Jason Calacanis.
Yeah.
Or who's the other guy who's in the room? Apparently there's a small number of people in the room. One of his investor VC, I can't remember his name. He's always tweeting to defend Elon. So I think he already has a candidate. Besides, he's under a lot of pressure.
Oh, gosh.
From his shareholders in his other companies.
He's going to lose his Tesla job.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of pressure on him to maybe step down. Yeah, maybe he's sounding a little bit contrite. Maybe he didn't expect it. Maybe the booze at the Chappelle concert.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. But, it's interesting. I think he might have also thought, oh, I don't have to worry about this because all of the bots from the GRU and et cetera were going to vote no. It's interesting. So I didn't vote. So you can see the result right now, Jason? Is it?
Yeah.
When did the polls close?
It said
10 hours left.
10 hours. Yeah.
4.1 million votes. Wow.
Yeah. 57.9% say yes.
Whoa. Okay.
That's very interesting.
I am so tempted
The people
to click
have
that
spoken.
button, but I'm not gonna. He says I will abide by the results of this poll. Well, see.
Of course, he's a liar.
We
so.
said we weren't going to talk about him, and he
There we
said,
go.
"I'll fix
Dang it.
that."
Yep.
I sure am enjoying my robotaxi that I bought for him.
Oh, yeah. Did you pay the extra $5,000?
In my case, it wound up being $7,000, and I did it as a tech journalist, frankly, since he wasn't going to give me an eval copy, right, to loan me. I did it as a tech journalist. I wanted to understand what self-driving was all about, and so I think I benefited from it professionally. But as a driver, it's nonsense.
Did you get FSD? You finally got it?
Oh yeah, I got the full boat.
And how does it work for you?
Sometimes. I mean, it works, but you have to watch. Put it this way. Every driver has to be aware of their own potential mistakes and the mistakes of other drivers. Now I have to worry about that plus the mistakes of my car. And if you don't, it can do some very outrageous things like, zip into the wrong lane. or make a left turn from the right lane, or a right turn from the left lane. I mean, it does all sorts of weird stuff.
I paid $5,000 when I got my Tesla Model X, which was 6 years ago, and he never released it, so I was $5,000 out the window.
I know.
There are those who have spent $15,000.
Right.
Everybody has it now, although this is an article.
No, you still have to buy it. You still have to buy it. Everybody who bought it has access to it. But I think you still have to pay the $15K or whatever it costs.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh.
If not, I got kind of ripped off. I mean, since I did buy it. The thing is, you got really ripped off because you leased it, and so you had to return the car and got no value at all from it.
Got nothing. And by the way, anybody who bought that car would not get the value that I spent for $5,000. Whoever got that car, or if I'd sold it myself, wouldn't get it's per person.
And
not
here's
per
the other
vehicle.
thing that's crazy.
Actually, it used to stay with the vehicle.
It doesn't now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but here's the other thing. If you buy a new now at this point, I'm never going to buy a Tesla, but I used to think I was going to buy a new Tesla at some point. If I did, I'd have to reinvest that all over again. I can't take my software with me like I can on my computer, right? If I get a new PC, I can take Microsoft Office with me to the new PC, not any Tesla software.
So this article
is an appeal. Sorry, go ahead.
This article from Electrek, Fred Lambert writing, says, I think what we would like to know is, and every self-driving vehicle, Waymo, Cruise releases this information, but Tesla refuses to, is the disengagement release data and the driver intervention data. In other words, how often do drivers have to take over? How often is it?
Every time. In my case, literally almost every time I use it, within about 15 minutes. Maybe I didn't have to take over. Maybe I could have just sat there and I would have survived. But something happens to scare me and to put my foot on the brake and to take over. Just because, I'm not saying it would have crashed, but it certainly got close enough to scare me.
There is a group of Tesla FSD beta testers who have been self-reporting the data. According to this article, the miles driven per disengagement have gone down by 54% since March, so it's getting smarter. Well, wait a minute, but it currently sits around the same level it was around this time last year.
Not good.
So it got dumber, and then it got smarter. It's actually the overall miles per disengagement is actually getting worse. Oh, I'm sorry, down.
Yeah,
miles driven is down by 54%.
Does it say how many miles?
I don't know what it's again.
It's essentially
just
saying there are more disengagements
per mile.
I think, which per mile, which I think is not to put this in perspective. And I have a Tesla Model Y. I did not buy FSD, but I did get the subscription where you pay $200 for it. So for the same reason Larry did, is to test it as a tech journalist. I think this isn't surprising in the sense that more and more people are using it, right? And so I think that's not surprising. I think you also have to take into account that Tesla is posting.
See, there's the problem right there.
I know.
It's confusing.
I know.
Yeah.
It is confusing. Too many T's. Tesla is pushing this out way in front. I wouldn't even call it beta. I'd call it more like alpha software, right?
Yeah.
That they're pushing this out so more people have access with lots of disclaimers. And you also have to pass for most of the year, you had to pass the test of being, a generally
now
safe
it's easier.
driver.
You don't have to be a safe driver anymore.
It is easier now.
Which is worse.
Which makes it worse, yeah.
They've let less and less safe drivers into it throughout the year.
And that's my problem because, I mean, it's fine with me if you guys want to spend money on it, but I'm the beta tester. I'm the guy walking across the street in front of a Tesla or driving my car in a lane in the opposite direction. And I don't know, you're using public highways and the rest of the world as your test. And yes, of course, it's going to get better. This stuff is a neural network. It's going to learn. Sure. The self-reporting metric is a mere 72,000 miles compared to 60 million miles driven total by FSD beta. So it is a small fraction. That's my only complaint is it's fine. I just don't want to be the guinea pig
But on the highway, it works great. I mean, I really love it on the freeway. And I like the fact that it will stop at stoplights and stop signs. And it's pretty good about that. It's pretty reliable.
I used,
and it will start again with light changes.
I used their adaptive cruise control.
Right.
And lane change capability. And that was, I stopped using the lane change. That one, you signal lane change, the car would do it.
Right.
It would cut off cars all the time. So I stopped doing that. And I always, with this one, the old one, you had to keep your hands on the wheel.
You still do.
You still do. You can't take your hands off the wheel. Well, that's interesting because both GM and Ford have a hands-free solution. Highways only, though. Mapped highways only.
Right.
I think it's easier on a highway. Stop signs, red lights, green lights, pedestrians.
But Elon succeeded in getting me. I don't know when I'm going to buy a new car, but I doubt very much whether it's going to be from him.
Well, if nothing else, it's bad for your reputation.
I'm thinking about putting that bumper sticker. I bought it before I knew.
Alyssa Milano tweeted, I remember this, she tweeted, "I'm getting rid of my Tesla and buying a VW." And to which somebody said, "You mean you're going to buy a car literally designed by Nazis?"
Right.
VW is no longer a Nazi-owned, which I think it's safe to say, but...
No, I think it's the opposite. The VWs designed the Nazis designed the VW, but they no longer work there. When Elon designed the Tesla, I'm not sure he was a Nazi yet. But
now,
and he's not truly a Nazi. He's just, I don't know what he is.
To keep in mind with Tesla too is Elon lost interest in Tesla over 2 years ago, right? Once they got the Model 3, and that was Elon is good at some things. Let's be honest. He loves trying to put a lot of energy into big problems, and he's very good at that. But when he lost interest in Tesla after they got the Model 3 delivered, and since then it's really become they need to operationalize. Excuse me. This is kind of the level of the systems thing, right? They need to build systems that make cars for less money, that put them in, local areas. That's why they built the plant in Shanghai, the plant in Berlin. They need to do all the things to become a great car company. That's what they're working on now. And that's not a big problem that Elon needs to solve. So really other people have been running Tesla for the past 2 to 3 years, and Elon has barely been involved, right? He pulled back from the earnings calls. It was clear on the earnings calls at times the CFO would kind of interrupt him and say, "Well, actually, here's sort of," he would do it in the most polite, politic way possible. But it was clear that Elon barely had been briefed on what Tesla was doing when you listen to him on earnings calls to be able to speak to it. And then other people picked up and really have been doing the real work for years over at Tesla. And frankly, they've done some magnificent work. I'm not really a car person. I've had the car for 2 years. It's the best car I've ever owned by far.
Yeah, me too.
And I really looked at, it was really hard decision for me because I'd owned a Ford for 20 years and loved Ford. And I had to choose between the Mach-E and the Tesla Model Y and then the VW, now I'm forgetting the name of it all of a sudden. And it took me about 6 months to kind of decide. And now I would not, I don't regret it at all. It was by far one of the better decisions that I've made for that.
When I bought mine, it's been 4 years. The decision was literally, I was debating between that and I can't remember what else. I think a Honda had a pretty interesting car at that time. And I saw a newspaper article which told me what I already knew, which is that Tesla has software updates. And I thought to myself, I have never owned a car that isn't worse than it was the day I bought it. And the idea that my Tesla and your Tesla are better than they were when we bought them.
Yeah, that's cool.
In my case, 4 years ago, is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now that's probably going to be true with all modern cars, I assume.
I think because of over-the-air updates that almost all modern cars use, that's probably true.
But Tesla was the first to make that happen.
Absolutely.
I have a 2016 Prius, which still has the same GPS coordinates that it had when I bought it, probably designed in 2014.
I loved my Model X. My wife did not. I like my Ford Mach-E, which is electric and has many of the same features. It's kind of like a Ford's
version. Do they
update
it pretty often?
X. Yeah, it gets over-the-air updates every few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, good.
So I think there's a lot to be said for it. By the way, the name of the guy I was trying to remember is David Sachs, who was a VC at Kraft Ventures. He's one of the so-called guys in the room with Jason Calacanis and I can't remember the other name, Chamath Palihapitiya. These various people who are kind of advisors, one of them will almost certainly become the CEO.
Are any of them adult supervision?
No, they're the worst. Just read David Sachs' tweets. He's the worst.
No,
I think
adults in the room.
I think he's egging Elon on, to be honest with you.
I mean, at least Zuckerberg had Sheryl Sandberg for a while. I mean,
yeah,
somebody there.
My guess is one of those guys will become CEO of Twitter. And of course, they're pawns of Elon in the long run, so it doesn't really much matter. He gets to do what he wants no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to take one more break, and then I have like 40 stories, but they're all short that we haven't gotten to. Yeah, we'll just do the rapid fire drill in just a bit with a wonderful panel. Jason Hiner, founder of the Tech Republic. He's now editor-in-chief of ZDNet. Just proof positive nice guys finish first.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, very rarely. But are you a soccer fan, Jason? You feel like you are.
I'm not.
Maybe it's because of the hat. It's the hat.
Maybe it is sort of European looking hat.
You look like a hooligan, a soccer hooligan. I just thought
I played baseball and basketball growing up, and runner. You know,
be careful. He might beat you up if you accuse him of being a soccer hooligan.
It was of course a very exciting. Well, no spoilers. World Cup final this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least the people who were fans tell me it was exciting. Wasn't that? To me, it was like it's a bunch of guys running around in their shorts, and eventually something happened. But I feel like I like gridiron, American football. We had two more exciting games yesterday in American football than we had in the World Cup final this morning. I don't know. So that's just my thought. Anyway,
more happens.
Yeah, were they all jumping up and down in Oaxaca? Were they shouting "Goal! Go! 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 Goal!" Anything like that? No, nothing.
No.
Okay. I was thinking I should have watched it on Univision instead of on Fox. It might have been more exciting, even if I couldn't understand what they were saying.
I mean, the French must have been going crazy right up till the end. I mean, I've seen big soccer matches while in France, and you can hear it across the town, all the screaming and yelling.
I'm sure. I mean, it couldn't have been a better final between Argentina and France, two major soccer powers and fans. And I mean, it was very exciting watching Messi and Mbappe, and that was.
Whenever I'm in Europe, I worry about what color shirt I'm wearing.
Yes.
The fear that somehow it's going to offend the local fans.
Are you in the Crips or the Bloods? That's what they want
I know.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Apparently no soccer fans here, so it's okay. I just was going to give you some time to talk and jump up and down.
I have too short of an attention span.
I mean, I can't watch baseball anymore, frankly.
Exactly, same thing.
I need excitement every 3 seconds. It's not going to happen.
TikTok has ruined it all for us.
TikTok has ruined us for soccer. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology and Intel. Worldwide Technology, we talk about a lot. WWT is at the forefront of innovation, working with clients all over the world to transform their businesses. One of the reasons businesses love WWT is because, yes, they're technologists. Yes, they understand this stuff, but they also understand business. And they are very serious about business strategy. And they know that no technology makes any sense unless it fits your business strategy, right? At the heart of WWT is this amazing advanced technology center. That's what Lisa and I went out to visit in March of 2020. The last trip we took before COVID struck. We saw the ATC, and it is a mind-boggling. It started in one small building with just a few racks. Now it's several buildings, mile after mile of racks, more than $500 million in the top-of-the-line OEM equipment, the kind of equipment you're going to be using. And that's how WWT uses it. It's a research and testing lab so that their engineers can spin up proofs of concept, can understand the technology, can get a better handle on it. The ATC is also for you. More than 50,000 members of the ATC platform, which is free, get access to hundreds of on-demand, schedulable labs that you can do anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night, featuring solutions that include technologies like Intel's Xeon scalable processors and Intel Optane persistent memory, Optane SSDs, and others. It's in the rack. You can try it. They represent the newest advances in every area of enterprise technology, multi-cloud architectures, their security, networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics and AI, DevOps, and so much more. I'll never forget, I mean, when we're talking about security, there was a whole series of racks that were isolated. They were off in a cage. They were air gapped from the rest of them. I said, what's over there? They said, that's where we do antivirus testing and virus testing. That's where we keep some of the biggest threats to enterprise, because we've got to understand them so we can protect you against them. That's commitment. That's awesome. WWT's engineers and partners like you use the ATC to quickly spin up proofs of concept and pilots so that customers can confidently select the best solutions. And that means evaluation time can be cut from months to weeks. It means there's no mystery. You're not going in with your eyes closed. You know, eyes wide open, exactly what these technologies are going to do. With the ATC, you can test out products and solutions just like the engineers at WWT. You can access technical articles. You can access expert insights, demonstration videos, white papers, those hands-on labs, and all the tools you need to help you stay up to date with the latest technology. You should also check out the ATC community, WWT's events and communities. We did an event there when we were out there. Great ways to learn from the smartest people in the business about technology trends, hear about the latest research and insights from the experts at WWT and from outside experts they bring in. It's not just a physical lab space, it's a virtual space. Everybody anywhere in the world can participate in 365 days a year. So whatever your business need, I want to remind you, WWT is there to deliver scalable, tried and tested, tailored solutions. WWT, they bring strategy and execution together to make that new world happen. To learn more about WWT, the ATC, to gain access to all their free resources, visit wwt.com/twit. Create that account. It's free on the ATC platform and dig in. You're going to love it. wwt.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Tech. This week was a great week on TWiT, and we have a little video that we've made to show you all the highlights. Watch. Between Ant and Stacy, I'm getting a lot of shade here. I got to tell you.
I like you. I like you.
Thank you, man.
No shade, sir. No shade, sir.
It's not shade. It's obvious.
This is the 49th shade of gray on the scale.
Yeah. There's no side eye with Stacy. It's just straight on glare.
50 Shades of Stacy. I like it.
Previously on TWiT. All about Android.
So iQOO is a subsidiary of Chinese manufacturer Vivo, and they also have announced new flagship devices, the iQOO 11 and 11 Pro. You've got a vapor chamber liquid cooling system. You got liquid cooling, like in a phone.
Hands-on photography.
I got my hands on a nice new camera from the folks at Canon. It's the Canon R7. This is one of their latest mirrorless bodies.
This Week in Google.
We were joined by the first engineer to be fired by Elon Musk at Twitter, Manu Cornet.
This one was actually 100% stolen from something Stacy said in one episode.
So that's Stacy saying, you break it, you buy it.
TWiT.
I have inspired art, y'all.
Art, you
This
are.
is so exciting. Thanks, Manu.
Exciting. This is awesome. Manu Cornet was great. His claim to fame, he was the first engineer to be fired at Twitter shortly after. He was actually thrilled when Elon showed up with the sync. He said, oh, this is a guy with a sense of humor. He's a cartoonist, of course. He likes all that stuff. He said his thrill changed to dismay when he even gave Elon one of those cartoons. It's pretty cool.
It's a shame it happened during the tech downturn, that there aren't a gazillion jobs for all these people. Because if this had happened a couple of years ago, they would have been hired right away by somebody else.
I suspect
They
many of
still
them
will.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
It is. This right now, there's such a shortage of engineers that I feel like they will. You're right, though. I mean, it's not the 4,000 or 5,000 people from Twitter. It's the 11,000 from Facebook. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, Leo, can we take 1 second for reflection? I thought this was really interesting that, if I remember right, TWiT started spring of 2005. And one of the first big things was WWDC in that year. And at that WWDC in June, I think it was, they announced the Intel transition. That was like the big news, right? Was the Intel transition
For Apple.
for Apple. And now we've come full circle. Who could have imagined that this many years later, now Intel is actually advertising on TWiT. Like that's pretty cool.
I have to say, the best thing about this beat, and I'm sure you all agree, is that it's never boring.
Oh, no.
You know, if you're covering politics, it's kind of the same story over and over. If you're covering, local politics, it's worse. But technology, it's kind of this best. Nobody dies, nobody bleeds. So you don't have to go to a helicopter crash and call the family and ask for their reaction, which is the worst thing in local news. But so it's not, but at the same time, it is important. It's changing the world. It's shaping our world. So it's great. It's like the toy store, but it's still important. It's not like sports.
It's metaphorical train wrecks, not actual ones.
Yes,
when I got the LA Times gig in 1983, I called up a friend of mine. I said, I have good news and bad news. What's the good news? Good news is I'm now writing for the second biggest paper in America. That's the bad news. Oh, I've got to write about computers. And at the time, I really felt like, I was a second-class journalist because I wasn't writing. And now everybody wants to be on the tech.
That's right.
Beat. I mean, Mossberg, came around from the State Department. That's what made me feel good. When Walt Mossberg went from the State Department to tech, I said, how? Maybe I got somewhere, I
might be onto something here.
Yeah, maybe.
Big stories, quick ones. We'll get through these fast. Apple has apparently, according to Puck News, backed out of the negotiations for the NFL Sunday ticket. You remember that this was given up by DirecTV. They own it right now, $1.5 billion a year. According to Dylan Byers, writing in Puck, which I pay for, but I'm currently not logged into, so I can't show you the article. Apple has pulled out, but Amazon and Google still in the bidding. This is the NFL Sunday ticket is the right to show all the games on a Sunday. DirecTV used it to build subscription, new subscribers. Bars especially wanted access to this, so they could show all the games. But it's very expensive, $1.5 billion a year. DirecTV never made any money on it, lost money on it. But a company like Apple, Google, Amazon, it's not their business. It's a way of adding to their annual revenue per user, their ARPU. So they can bid a lot more than the networks or a satellite company could ever build. So watch now. We'll see if Google or Amazon get it. Google would put it on their YouTube TV. Amazon would put it on Amazon Prime, presumably where Thursday Night Football already lives. According to buyers, one of the problems was that the Apple wanted to give it away. They wanted Apple TV Plus subscribers to get it for free, and the NFL says, over our dead bodies, you're not giving away the crown jewel. All right, fine. Virtual reality pioneer John Carmack has had it with Meta and has quit. He's joined Meta as chief technology officer of Oculus when they acquired Oculus. He quit in a huff, or at least a minute and a huff. Old Groucho Marx joke. He said Meta, which is in the midst of transitioning from a social networking company to one focused on the immersive world of the metaverse, was operating at, quote, half the effectiveness and has, quote, a ridiculous amount of people and resources, but we constantly self-sabotage and squander effort. He wrote in the Post, which, by the way, he says the Times is missing the context, and so he's posted the entire post publicly now. But he wrote, "It's been a struggle for me. I have a voice at the highest levels here, so it feels like I should be able to move things, but I'm evidently not persuasive enough."
And for the record, he's wasn't an employee; he was a consultant. I'm pretty sure, and so I think it's a combination of him changing, his own personal career, and also nobody's happy with the whole metaverse direction of Facebook, it seems.
Yeah. Nobody. I think that's probably, we were talking about, my wife and I were talking about why Sheryl Sandberg left. And I said, well, ostensibly it's because she was getting married and had a new family and she wanted to spend more time with her money. But I think it must have also something to do with this new direction, which is really being promoted by Mark, but maybe not as well supported by the rest of the company. Yeah, he was an executive consultant for virtual reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing because, I mean, the metaverse nomenclature is, I mean, it was always a dystopian concept. He turned it into the name of the branding of the company, Meta, and has been talking nonstop about it. But we're talking about virtual reality and augmented reality and things like that. All of that was always going to be inevitable. And Facebook, the biggest problem is just Facebook is not very good at it. So they can talk all they want, they can squander billions, but at the end of the day, they're just not very good at doing what Mark Zuckerberg calls the metaverse.
Yeah. It depends on what you look at. I mean, it's not clear to me whether Meta is a application developer or a platform. And they're really both, right? So Horizon Worlds, for example, isn't doing very well, but VR chat and there are products on the Quest platform that do reasonably well. I mean, are actually very well done. So it may turn out that as a platform, they actually aren't that bad, but they've got some problems with their own apps, I have to admit. And again, full disclosure, I actually wrote some of their safety guides, so we work with them as well. Get a great safety team. I'll say that much about them. But I think as a platform, I think it's too early to judge.
Yeah.
And of course, they may acquire or somehow make, Horizon Worlds may get better. Let's hope it does.
His final words in his post: enough complaining. I'm wearied of the fight and have my own startup to run, but the fight is still winnable. VR can bring value to most of the people in the world, and no company is better positioned to do it than Meta. Maybe it is actually possible to get there by just plowing ahead with current practices, but there's plenty of room for improvement. Make better decisions and fill your products with give a damn. So,
notice he said VR, right?
Yeah.
So, the problem is that AR is going to be vastly bigger than VR, and Apple is going to completely own that market, I think.
Yeah.
VR. I mean, AR.
AR is going to be huge.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense. And of course, Meta is going to go there too. The question is whether they go there fast enough.
In a way, they have. I have the Oculus Pro, or the Quest Pro that they just made, the $1,600 one.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. But because it has good color cameras in the front, you can see stuff. In fact, they have some good games that are AR games involving.
It's a shame that I have the Quest Pro 2, and it is eons better than the Quest 2, and it's a shame that the only way to get the really, really good one is to have to pay $1,500.
Well, maybe it's just that expensive to make. I mean,
hopefully it'll come down. I think it will. But
Apple, it's rumored when they do release their augmented reality headset, and the rumor is they'll do it next year, late in the year, but that it'll cost around $3,000. It's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, that's non-starter.
Well, it's a developer tool at that point, right? It
is, and
so is HoloLens. So is Google.
Yeah.
They all are really.
Yeah.
Let's see what else here. Instagram, which has long had a problem with hacked accounts, but never admitted it, I think, has finally launched a new tool to help hacked users regain account access. So, you go to Instagram.com/hacked. This happens a lot, far too often. And maybe it's the fault of the users who aren't turning on two-factor or whatever. But this is the problem with these giant free services. They don't, because they make no money on you, they don't really have the incentive to give you any support at all. So when your Google account is hacked, or your Facebook account is hacked, or your Insta account is hacked, good luck. You're dealing with a giant robot bureaucracy. So I hope that this makes a difference.
That's great.
I hear from a lot of people who get hacked. Netflix is giving money back to advertisers. Remember, they launched an ad-supported tier. Well, so that they have a lower cost to people. Well, apparently it's not taken off like crazy. Netflix has only delivered roughly 80% of the expected audience, according to some agencies, 5 agency executives talking to Digiday. And so they're giving some of that money back. That's the normal practice. We do it too in media. If you don't reach the numbers, you have to give the money back. I don't know if it's a long-term problem with an ad-supported version of Netflix. It's still pretty new. I pay the ridiculous, what is it, $15 a month now? It's outrageous.
I just can't. Yeah. I mean, I have ad support. I have, ad-free versions of just about everything I get. because I've just gotten conditioned to not have to watch ads. And on television, on broadcast television, I can skip the ads. I know ads that support you, Leo. I understand that, but on broadcast, I've got a DVR.
You can skip the ads on our show, Larry. It's okay.
Oh no, I love your ads.
I allow you.
It's called Club Twit.
Relatively interesting to listen to. So.
It's called Club Twit, Larry.
Yeah, that's honestly that's why we started Club Twit, because I thought there are people who don't want to hear ads, and so I want to give them a chance to hear our shows without ads, but we need to monetize somehow.
Right.
Club Twit's done pretty well, I think.
Well, that's exactly what Netflix. I mean, that's exactly what a lot.
I guess it is the ad-free version.
It's only with the other way. Right?
They started with the ad-free version. We started with the ad version.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little easier to get people to pay for something first. It's said to be very difficult to get people to pay for something they're getting for free. I would say, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it's something like 2% or less of our audience pays for it. I'd love to get that to a higher number. Frankly,
they used to say nobody ever paid for television or water.
Right. And we do both. We do both.
Yeah.
So maybe that's good. That's encouraging. If we could get to 5%, we wouldn't need advertisers. That's all it would take, 5% of the people who listen to pay for it.
I'm sure it's going up all the time, though.
It is. It's a
probably never stops going up.
Consistent build. And what I do is I make people feel really guilty. And
it works.
I've decided if it works for public broadcasting, I ought to do pledge nights and, have a phone bank of operators or taking your call. All you got to do is go to Club Twit. Twit.tv/ClubTwit. I'm terrible at this. $7. It's $1 less than a blue check on Twitter, and you get ad-free versions for all of our shows. You get the Discord, which is actually a wonderful place to hang out. I know some of you are in there, and I see you once in a while.
I pay you $8. Will you give me a check mark at least?
I will give you anything you want. In fact, if you want, I'll get all three of you. It's a standing offer to any of our contributors to have a free access to the Discord, which is a great place. Great place to talk. And we do advertise. Yeah, if you want to pay for it, Jeff pays for it, I think. A couple people pay for it.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It really does help us out. And we have some shows that we don't put out in public, like Hands on Windows and Hands on Macintosh, and the Untitled Linux show that it's club only. We've got some Space. No, that's a good example of a show this week in space that started in the club.
That's
Once
right.
we could sell advertising, we put it out in public, and now it's doing so well. We're going to give them video. So it's
like a farm program.
Yeah, we've decided it's better to start that way, start small and work its way up, than launch it and then have to cancel it because it's too expensive to do. Because I don't have venture capital. I don't have anybody putting money in the pocket. So we got to figure.
You
out.
actually have reality to deal with here.
It's good.
VC
I have friends at Revision 3, and they got, I don't know, not a small amount of money, like $7 million in VC, and they spent it very quickly. And I've always felt grateful that I didn't have that, because it's hard to know if you got $7 million burning a hole in your pocket, you don't know what you need right now. I'd much rather bootstrap it. So that's what
you don't have $44 billion to buy a social media company?
I wish.
Oh, what a shame.
I wish. It costs about $3.5 million a year to run Twit, with staff, electricity, rent, all of that stuff. So
that's pretty amazing.
Lisa and I only take a salary if we make more than $3.5 million a year. And frankly, this year I think it's rated at $3.4 million. It's a little bit low. That's why we'll pushing
do a GoFundMe page for you, Leo.
We need the club. That's all. Coming up Thursday, January 12th, Project Hail Mary and the book club with Stacy. There's going to be an Inside Twit. Lisa and I will talk about those numbers and more with our club members on January 19th. Win2DAO is doing a fireside chat on the 9th. We just had one with Glenn Fleischman, which went really, really well. And I think we're going to try to get Manu in there and a few other people to join us in our club events. So we're trying to make it more of a fun place to hang out, thanks to Aunt Pruitt, our community manager. So we're doing what we can. We're doing what we can. And I want Netflix to succeed. I absolutely do. And I don't mind paying $15.99 a month. They have good stuff. What did I just watch? Oh, Bullet Train was free on it. I would have paid more renting it on Apple if I had known. So it's a good thing I saw it on Netflix.
Have you ever paid for a movie and then found out you could have streamed it
every
for free?
time? It's completely chance that I saw that was on Netflix. I was about to buy it.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah.
I think we're done. I think there's other things, but I think we've talked about everything.
Well, I have something to say if I can.
You've got some stuff to give away.
I'm giving away money. So, as you know, I'm CEO of ConnectSafely, and we are the official U.S. host of Safer Internet Day. And maybe I'll come back in February and talk about
Please
that.
do. You have an invitation to do that.
Normally what we would do back before the pandemic, we'd have these really big events where we'd spend tens of thousands of dollars, and we bring in people like Kamala Harris and Sheryl Sandberg, and 100, 300 kids from a community would all come in. Well, we're not doing that this year. Instead, we're giving out $1,000 grants to teachers around the country to educate them.
Nice.
They can put on a local event, and we will give them everything they need: PowerPoints, videos, lesson plans, discussion points, everything they need to deliver the event, and $1,000 to incentivize them, or print materials, or buy pizza, or whatever they need. All they need to go is go to ConnectSafely.org, and on the front page, you'll see a blog post. You click on that. It takes you to an application, 10 minutes on Google. Now, we're not going to give everybody. It's a competitive program, but there are still some slots open there. So if people want to apply, we'd be happy to look at your application, and we're really trying to get a diverse group. I mean, from around the country, we're hoping to get maybe some tribal schools to sign up. We really want to get a lot of schools around the country doing these programs, and we've raised some money to be able to subsidize it.
I like that. I think that's a great way to use that money, is to go directly to the schools and help them do that education.
And the money comes from all those companies we've been talking about.
Yeah, I see it right here at the bottom. You've got Meta, Google, Amazon Kids, Twitch, TikTok, Snapchat, Discord. Thank you, Discord. Roblox, Trend Micro, the NCTA, the Internet and Television Association, Meet Group, and Zepeto.
Zepeto, which is a Korean company.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very
wonderful.
Cool.
You know what? They should put money into that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
ConnectSafely.org. Larry is the president and CEO and does a great job there. Spending, I think, more time there now that you don't do as much radio and stuff.
That's right.
I think that's fantastic.
But we actually do have we have the ConnectSafely report on CBS News Radio. So we still have a radio show.
Yeah.
It's not as much.
Do you host that?
I do. It's 1 minute long. So
perfect length. If I could do a 1 minute show, I would. Never have.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work.
We call it.
Yeah. Thank you for the work you do, Larry. I really, I think it's important. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Mike Elgan, the wind has been kicking up in Oaxaca. The sun has gone down.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful night. What are you going to do with the rest of your evening?
I have no idea. We're actually flying back to California tomorrow, not to dox myself, but
what's the tail number of that plane?
Yeah. I'll be getting my tail number back to California tomorrow. No, but it's we're gonna probably go out and just do Oaxaca. It's a nonstop party, as you know, in this town. It's just such a cool place. Went to a big event last night that was really fantastic, and we just finished the Oaxaca experience a few days ago, so that was really, really fun.
Gastronomad.net. I've done the Oaxaca experience, and I will never have a better time eating better food than hanging out with Mike and Amira. You probably sold out on some of these. What's the next opening you've got here?
Well, let's see. Mexico City sold out in April, and then I think Provence is the first one in June, late June. That one still, I believe, has a few rooms available if you want to sign up, and I highly recommend that one.
Oh boy!
And then Prosecco after that, and it's just become. I mean, it's really, really popular nowadays. We have people repeating, not only doing multiple events, but now people are repeating the same event they already did. So we had some people on this one that did Oaxaca last year.
It's so funny. I know every one of these people. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
You get a lot of repeats, but they're great people that you want to hang out with. A lot of them TWiT listeners. Oh, so much fun. So much fun. And it's a small group.
Yeah, it's a pretty small group. This Oaxaca experience was 14 people, which is the biggest one we've ever done. But normally they range from 6 to 10 or something like that. And it's a really nice tight knit group. And I thank you for letting me talk about it, Leo. But can I tell you one other exciting piece of news?
Yes.
Over in Chatterbox territory.
Oh, yes.
Kevin's innovating like crazy over there, and he's doing this thing at, you can check it out at
wait a minute. He's doing AI art with Chatterbox?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Rolling out in the first quarter, even though he's essentially built it already, but basically the kids will build the skill in the skill builder, and then they do it with voice. So they tap the button and they give the text prompts by voice.
Cool.
And then the pictures show up in the skill builder.
Oh,
it's so cool.
Gee. Oh, that's one way to engage kids. Holy cow. They're going to have so much fun.
And he's making it safe, so they can't do objectionable content or anything like that. He's got a really good engine for doing that already. And so this is a way for kids, because the ultimate purpose of Chatterbox is to teach AI literacy, which is very, very important. And this is what's happening in AI right now is AI art. So it's really cool stuff.
Have them reach out to me, because we love to promote, especially smaller companies.
Oh, this is a good one for you.
We won't hit them up for money. We just like to promote them.
No, this is a really good one for you. HelloChatterbox.com.
Yeah.
I wish that ChatGPT could be, that is a great tool. It's so much smarter than Echo or Amazon Echo or Google Voice, or it's a hell of a lot smarter than Siri. Well, I know it's expensive to run, but boy, it'd be really cool if you could. I think it's just a matter of time before the voice assistants start being as smart as ChatGPT.
Right. The big thing ChatGPT lacks is real-time information.
Yes, it's
and
old.
So everything is already in the database, and so people might think that Chatterbox, for example, is kind of a much lesser version of and has less capabilities than Alexa or whatever, but it doesn't. Kids can build skills and get the weather, to get all this real-time information using APIs, and teaches them how APIs work, which is really important. And you can actually do more things with Chatterbox theoretically than you can with Siri or Google Voice or any of these.
Yeah, it uses its own Chatterblocks language, which is a customized version of Google Blockly.
Yep.
Really, really, really neat stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
I love it. Man, sometimes I think if I retire, I should become a school teacher, because there's so many great things now you can do with your kids.
It's called working. That's not
working.
Yeah, it's called working.
That's not retiring.
You teach every day. What
am I saying? Yeah. I guess.
And Kevin is looking for. I'm sorry, but Kevin is looking for beta testers who are teachers.
Nice.
And so if you're a teacher, reach out, hellochatterbox.com. He'd love to hear from you.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's really great. Jason Hiner, editor-in-chief, ZDNet. You got a big job, but you're doing a great one. I think ZDNet has gotten better over the years. Thank you for doing such an excellent job there.
Thank you.
Anything you want to plug?
So I will plug something for the audience. One of the things that we've done over the last few days at the end of last week was, there's this myth that the biggest shopping of the day of the year is Black Friday, but it's actually the Saturday before Christmas.
Oh,
and
really?
Several of the days
minute.
Leading up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Saturday's Christmas Eve. So that's when I shop, Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Usually around 8
go.
p.m. Christmas Eve.
Right. So we did you had it up on the screen, best last minute tech gifts.
I need these.
There. So we had all of our editors on. We did a live stream, and we had them come on and talk about our picks. So our team's been scouring the best deals for the past month. And also lining that up with some of the products that were our favorite ones that we got our hands on this year. So not all of these are ones we got our hands on, but most of them are ones that we tested. So we found the best deals on our favorite products of the year and put this list together of here's some really good options for you if you're looking for those last minute gifts for somebody to get them some useful stuff that's going to really be good and that they're going to be happy with.
There's only 6 shopping days left, kids. ZDNet.com. It's right there on the front page. And thank you so much, Jason, Mike, Larry. I consider you 3 of my best friends, my best buddies, and it's a great way to end our year with this show.
What a
Thank
pleasure.
you for being here.
It was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, it's always good conversation when you get smart people on talking about Elon Musk. What can go wrong?
Let's not do that too much next year.
No. I don't want to do any more. I'm done. I am so done. If only. We do TWiT, of course, on Sundays. Now, I got to tell you, normally we do it Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern, or rather Pacific time, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's 2200 UTC. Next week is Christmas. We're not going to make anybody do a show with us on Christmas. We've already recorded our Christmas episode. A lot of fun with the old coots Doc Searles, Steve Gibson, Paul Thurrott, Jeff Jarvis, and I get together and kind of yell at the clouds, talk about the year in history. And then the following week is a best of some of the best clips from the year 2022. We will, though, be back January 8th for our first return to the live format. So I hope you will come back then, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific here on Sundays. You can watch live at live.twit.tv. There's a live video stream. There's also a live audio stream there. Chat with us live at irc.twit.tv. And I imagine the IRC is not going to go away during the holidays. So if you get a little lonely, go on into the IRC, or if you're a member of Club Twit, the Discord. I'll be hanging out in both from time to time, waving hello and so forth. You can don't feel alone. There's geeks ready and willing to talk to you in the chats. Join us. We also, of course, have all of our shows available after the fact on the website, twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel for This Week in Tech and many of our other shows. Best thing to do is subscribe in your favorite podcast player. You'll get it automatically the minute it's available. So I guess I will be here this week. We're going to have our usual shows. We don't go into best of mode until after Twit next Sunday, and then we'll be in best of mode all that week. So I will see you on Tuesday. I'll be back Tuesday with Mac Break Weekly. And of course, in 3 weeks for This Week in Tech. Thanks, everybody. If I don't see you between now and the holidays, have a happy Hanukkah tonight, happy Christmas, right. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the new year on Twit.
Take care, everybody.
Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
It's amazing.